Chapter 25:34. It was a powerful big goblin. It was majestic and mighty, and it had a bunch of bull horns on its head. Its entire body exuded a violent and vast demonic aura. It was a big goblin with abilities comparable to a middle-rank lord. Although this big goblin was powerful, how could it compare to Wang Tian? Hao Gua, Fei Fei, Huang Gua, rolling steps evenly, changing steps beside you, accepting sparks naturally, he did not retreat because he was afraid of this demon. Instead, he wanted to see if the big goblin could withstand the energy from beyond the heavens. The big goblin seemed reckless, but it was very careful. Its hairy hands burned with demonic fire as it carefully extended them toward the yellow cloud. Chi, the energy from beyond the heavens contained within the yellow cloud, quickly suppressed the demonic fire on the big goblin's palm and extinguished it. Meanwhile, the big goblin's palm was within the yellow cloud, and its blood, chi, and demonic aura rapidly flowed out. The big goblin was shocked. It quickly retracted its palm and circulated its blood chi. Only then did its palm return to normal. Interesting, but it's not a problem for me. The big goblin grinned and transformed into its true form. It transformed into a monster that resembled a black bison that was 100 feet tall. Its entire body burned with demonic fire as it burrowed into the yellow cloud. Su Fong activated his perfect level vision and watched with wide eyes. He discovered that the energy contained within the yellow cloud suppressed the big goblin's blood, chi, and demonic aura to a great extent. In the short span of a few breaths, the big goblin had exhausted a great deal of its blood, chi, and demonic aura. However, the big goblin's skin was coarse and its flesh was thick. It looked like it could still withstand it. Su Fong was greatly relieved. If even the big goblin could withstand it, naturally, he was not afraid. The big goblin finally grabbed the lid treasure. It laughed maniacally and opened its mouth to suck the lid into its stomach. However, no matter how hard it tried, the lid seemed to have taken root. It floated there and did not budge at all. This exertion instead caused the big goblin to exhaust even more. The demonic fire on its body became extremely dim. Damn it, what's going on? The big goblin bull had no choice but to retreat from the yellow cloud. It had no choice but to retreat. If it continued to stay in the yellow clouds for a while longer, it would probably be shackled in the yellow clouds and unable to escape. It should be my turn now, right? Su Fong smiled faintly and stepped forward. The divine might of the yin-yang world surged out of his body, forming a protective barrier around his divine body before disappearing into the yellow cloud. The big goblin stayed outside the yellow cloud and looked at Su Fong with disdain. Even I can't get that magic treasure, let alone a mere Tao integration cultivator like you. Phew, the three deities flew over. One of the young men was the Tao integration cultivator who had tried to snatch Su Fong's Dharma treasure, but had been sent flying by Su Fong instead. He pointed at Su Fong in the yellow cloud and shouted, "Master, this is the man who snatched my Dharma treasure." The young man's master was an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion. His cultivator was extremely extraordinary and had reached the level of an upper-rank lord. He was definitely a peerless powerhouse. The old man's cold gaze swept over Su Fong in the yellow cloud. He snorted coldly. This Tao integration cultivator has some guts for daring to snatch my disciple's Dharma treasure. Let's see if I don't skin him alive. This person only has a Tao integration cultivation base, but he dared to enter that high-level energy. He's quite extraordinary. The other young man looked at Su Fong with disdain. He still did not take Su Fong seriously. This person was none other than Yi Tianyang. As soon as Su Fong entered the area enveloped by the yellow cloud, he immediately felt an astonishing shackle surging from his surroundings. This caused his blood chi, yin-yang world power, and dermic powers to flow out uncontrollably. Although it would not pose any fatal threat in the short term, it still gave him a fright. He hurriedly activated his world aura to fuse with the extraterrestrial energy around him. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the extraterrestrial energy contained in the yellow cloud could also be fused with the yin-yang world. Not only that, but he could even absorb this high-level energy. Actually, this was nothing strange. Although Su Fong had not truly transcended heaven and earth, the universe in his body had already transcended and could accommodate all things. Moreover, his yin-yang world power was also a type of extraterrestrial energy. It was just that it was not as pure as the energy contained in the yellow cloud. He could fuse and control these energies, albeit with some difficulty. Then, Su Fong came before the cauldron lid. The purple cloud, dermic spirit, became even more excited and trembled continuously in his body. Su Fong stared at the lid carefully. Only then did he see that there were strange patterns on the lid. They were extremely similar to the marks in the sky, but the aura contained within was completely different from that of this world. It was obviously not a dermic treasure from this world. Without having time to examine it carefully, Su Fong released the yin-yang world power and enveloped the cauldron lid. He tried to put the lid away. The result did not disappoint Su Fong. Under the yin-yang world power, the lid trembled and then quickly shrank. Along with Su Fong's power, it was put away into his inner world. As soon as the cauldron lid was put away by Su Fong, the surrounding yellow cloud quickly dissipated. This brat actually put away that dermic treasure. The big goblin stared blankly at Su Fong. Its fist-sized eyes were filled with disbelief. After that, the raging bull reacted and shouted in an overbearing manner. "Kid, obediently hand over that magic treasure, and I'll let you die a quick death. I guarantee there won't be the slightest bit of pain. After I kill you, I'll slowly devour your flesh." The white-haired elder suddenly sneered and said, "With this king here, how can a big goblin like you take away that dermic treasure?" Then he looked at Su Fong and shouted domineeringly, "Junior, you injured this king's disciple. Take this dermic treasure and your life as repayment." Whoosh whoosh. The white-haired elder and the big goblin displayed their divine might at almost the same time. They wanted to shackle Su Fong. "Not only do you want to take away my dermic treasure, but you also want to kill me." Su Fong's slightly raised lips curled into a cold smile. Suddenly, a divine might descended from the sky. It was as if a world had suddenly appeared in front of Su Fong. It shattered the attacks of the big goblin and the white-haired elder. Moreover, the remaining power did not diminish. It shook them until they spat out blood and were sent flying dozens of miles away. Even Tianyang and the youth were affected and were sent flying. Brahma Monarch? Su Fong frowned. It turned out that the person who attacked was the D-Zune of Sanskrit. "Lord Brahma Monarch, why did you attack me?" The white-haired elder was injured by Brahma Monarch. Although his injuries were not serious, he was shocked and stunned. Tianyang and the youth were also puzzled. The great demon raging bull, on the other hand, was terrified and quickly fled without a trace. Brahma Monarch cupped his fists at Su Fong and said politely, "Those juniors have eyes but fail to see. Please don't take them to heart." On the surface, Brahma Monarch was very polite, but his eyes were filled with respect and nervousness. Fine beads of sweat could even be faintly seen on his forehead. Obviously, Brahma Monarch had already guessed Su Fong's identity. Brahma Monarch had once served as Su Fong's guard, so he was very familiar with Su Fong's aura and power. Just now, Su Fong had used the power of the yin-yang world, so it was not strange at all that he had guessed Su Fong's identity. The white-haired elder's ancestor had a very deep friendship with Brahma Monarch. Seeing that the white-haired elder was about to attack Su Fong, Brahma Monarch had no choice but to intervene. Su Fong had killed Emperor Qi, Emperor Yi, and suppressed the Moon Emperor. He was famous among the Yuan Tiangong. Brahma Monarch had finally resolved the grudge between him and Su Fong. If he angered Su Fong now, he did not dare to imagine what the consequences would be. How could he not be afraid? "I'll give you face this time." "There won't be a next time," Su Fong said lightly and then left in embarrassment. Brahma Monarch secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Only now did he realize that his back was drenched in sweat. A dignified emperor expert had been frightened to this extent. If news of this spread, it would be shocking. The white-haired elder flew over and bowed respectfully to Brahma Monarch. "Lord Brahma Monarch, Is that person a genius of the imperial people? Brahma monarch snorted coldly. Although he is not from the imperial people, killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. You want to snatch his treasure? You're courting death. The white-haired elder was an upper chief god after all. Being reprimanded by Brahma monarch like this, his face turned green and then white, but he was still quite dissatisfied. Brahma monarch, could that person be? Emperor Tru Yang transmitted his Yuan spirit to Brahma monarch. Brahma monarch responded, "Yes, it's him." Emperor Tru Yang was also quite wary. Why has this malefic star also come to the Advent Palace? He better not be here for that treasure. Otherwise what? Could it be that he wanted to kill him? I advise you to give up. Don't forget how Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi died, and what happened to the Qi people and the Yi clan. Brahma monarch sneered. Then he transmitted his voice very decisively. Emperor Tru Yang, I'll say this first. If Su Fang is not here for that treasure, then it's fine. If I have a conflict with him inside the Advent Palace, I will turn around and leave. Don't blame me. I understand. Emperor Tru Yang said helplessly. Tru Yang Emperor said helplessly, then asked, what kind of magic weapon did Su Fang get just now? It seems like he cares a lot about it. I also caught a glimpse of it. That treasure is indeed a little strange, but it's definitely not a powerful treasure. That's good. Su Fang has the origin sacred mirror. If he also gets some supreme treasure, he'll be too lucky. Su Fang flew along the palace wall. While collecting treasures, he constantly used the heaven-prying eye, trying to find the gap in the restriction to enter the Advent Palace. The towering palace wall was actually not a real palace wall, but an extremely powerful enchantment. If one wanted to shake the enchantment, it was estimated that a transcendent cultivator could barely do it, but a deity below the transcendent realm could not even think about it. Fortunately, there were some broken parts of the palace wall that could enter the Advent Palace. However, these broken gaps were not unchanging. It was not easy to find the gaps. Fortunately, Su Fang had the heaven-prying eye. Coupled with the perfect ability, he could easily see the broken parts of the enchantment. QL11, Su Fang also separated his yang spirit and carefully studied the cauldron lid. In the end, he did not find anything. Not only was the purple cloud's Dharma spirit unable to explain why, but even the knowledgeable Jin Hong Wang could not find any clues. He did not expect to spend so much effort to collect a piece of trash. This made Su Fang very depressed. He did not expect the purple cloud's Dharma spirit to make mistakes. Chapter 25:35. After searching along the palace walls for more than 10 days, Su Fang finally found a gap in the restriction that led to the first level of the Advent Palace. The palace walls seemed to be intact on the surface, but the restriction was broken, creating a gap that could only allow one person to enter at a time. Su Fang took out a flying sword and entered through the gap in the restriction. As soon as the flying sword entered the restriction, Su Fang's connection with it was cut off. It was not destroyed, but entered an extraterritorial space-time, cutting off its connection with Su Fang. Just as Su Fang was hesitating whether to enter, more than 10 gods flew toward him. The leader shouted coldly, "Get out of my way!" He took a closer look. They were from the ancient divine dragon clan, one of the 4 ancient divine beasts. The leader was the ancient divine dragon clan leader, and the others were the upper echelons of the ancient divine dragon clan. Most of them were overgods. Among them was a young man in his early 20s. He was tall and strong, exuding a domineering aura. He was the prodigy of the ancient divine dragon clan who had a conflict with Su Fang when he was in the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang was surprised. The ancient divine dragon clan has mobilized almost all of their experts to enter the Advent Palace. Aren't they afraid of being wiped out? The ancient divine dragon clan was the most powerful of the 4 ancient divine beasts in the ancient divine world. During the world's upheaval, an extremely powerful divine dragon was resurrected and slaughtered everyone in the ancient divine dragon clan, causing countless experts to fall. The ancient divine dragon clan was unable to recover from the setback and rapidly declined. They were no longer what they used to be and were far inferior to the ancient divine phoenix clan. The Advent Palace was so dangerous that it was more like trying their luck outside. It was strange that the ancient Divine Dragon clan had mobilized all of their upper echelons and risked entering the Advent Palace. Since there was someone exploring the path in front, Su Fong was naturally happy to see it happen. He quickly moved to the side. What's your name? The prodigy of the ancient Divine Dragon clan suddenly asked as he passed by Su Fong. Su Fong asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" The prodigy said, "I can see that you're powerful and have good eyesight. You can find a flaw in the barrier. You want to enter the Palace of Advent to search for treasures, right? Since that's the case, why don't you join my clan and enter the Advent God Palace together to search for treasures? When the time comes, you'll definitely be rewarded." "You actually want to recruit me?" Su Fong said indifferently, not interested. The genius of the Divine Dragon clan raised an eyebrow. "You don't know how to appreciate favors," the clan leader of the Divine Dragon clan said majestically. "Don't be nosy. Quickly enter the Advent Palace." Then, many experts of the ancient Divine Dragon clan passed through the gap in the restriction. Before the genius of the ancient Divine Dragon clan entered, he glared fiercely at Su Fong, and a golden shadow pounced on Su Fong. The golden light instantly transformed into a dragon claw with a tearing momentum, intending to kill Su Fong. "You're courting death." A surge of yin and yang world's divine might erupted from Su Fong's body and formed a defensive barrier in front of him. The dragon claw crashed into the defensive barrier and was instantly shattered. However, Su Fong's divine might defense merely shook a little. At this time, the ancient Divine Dragon clan had all entered the Advent God Palace. "Ancient Divine Dragon clan, since you're courting death, don't blame me, Su Fong, for being merciless. If we meet inside the Advent God Palace, I'll definitely kill all of you." Su Fong's face was filled with killing intent as he calmly entered the palace walls. It felt as if he had suddenly entered the space inside a magic treasure from the real world, arriving at a completely different world inside the palace walls. The sky was filled with haze, and patches of yellow clouds floated in the air. The ground was solid, and there were broken walls and bare mountains everywhere. However, there was no life, and it was a scene of desolation and death. In the space, there were still faint yellow clouds. It was the high-grade energy overflowing from the world fragment that caused the space to be shackled to an astonishing degree. It was consuming life, divine essence, and dermic powers at every moment. Su Fong thought to himself, "The most dangerous place inside the Advent God Palace is no longer the restriction and chaotic energy, but the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. In this high-grade energy that was above the heavens and earth, one would be shackled at all times. Although ordinary cultivators could still bear it, sooner or later, they would be exhausted and unable to absorb the natural spiritual energy of the heavens and earth to recover. In the end, they would only die. Moreover, the energy from beyond the heavens was still in a state of dissipation. If the world fragment erupted again in another decade or so, the energy from beyond the heavens would become even more intense, and even venerable sovereigns would not be able to withstand it for too long. I've cultivated my own world and universe, so I can absorb this high-grade energy for cultivation. Although it affects me, it's nothing compared to other gods." Su Fong tried to integrate the energy from beyond the heavens with the power of the yin-yang world, and found that not only could the world tree absorb it, but the effect was also more than 10 times better than cultivating in the natural world outside. Su Fong's heart instantly calmed down, and he felt more confident about this trip to the Advent Shrine. His desire to obtain the world fragment from the 9 mysteries divine domain grew. Su Fong cultivated his own world and universe, and in this world, it was extremely difficult to advance. It was obviously unrealistic for him to reach the level of an upper-rank lord before entering the celestial worthy mountain. If he obtained the world fragment from the Jiuquan God Realm, Su Fong was confident that his cultivation speed would double. Even if it could not be compared to his previous state, it would be 10 times faster than now, or even more. However, the main purpose of entering the Advent God Palace this time was to rescue senior sister Shu Wanjin, and the other treasures would have to wait. Next, Su Fong used his great perfection ability. Although his sensing ability was shackled, it was not serious. This discovery made Su Fong feel much more at ease. Next, Su Fong adapted to the energy in the space, while flying slowly at a low altitude toward the second layer of the barrier. From the outside of the Advent God Palace, although the gap between the first and second layers of the barrier was huge, it was nothing to a powerhouse like Su Fong. However, inside the Advent God Palace, it was like being in a different universe. The distance that was not far at first felt like it was separated by endless time and space. In addition, Su Fong did not dare to use his power to teleport recklessly in order to conserve energy, so his speed was relatively slower. The deeper he flew, the more corpses Su Fong encountered. Some of them died in powerful restrictions, while others died from mutual slaughter. Su Fong now understood why the corpses of those powerhouses had decayed so quickly. It was because of the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens that could cause the physical body and even the world to dissipate rapidly. The corpses of venerable sovereigns could not be preserved for too long. In the past, there might have been many precious spiritual objects or other life forms living inside the Advent God Palace. But after another upheaval, the world fragment erupted with high-grade energy, and there were very few life forms that could survive in the Advent God Palace, which was why it had become so desolate. Hiss! Two figures tore through the faint yellow clouds and haze and flew towards Su Fong. The two stood in the air above Su Fong, looking down at Su Fong. One of them, a big man with a fierce face, swept Su Fong with a divine light and sneered. Another one came to die. I thought I could find treasures in the Advent God Palace, but in the end, all of you are dead. The other thin man, whose triangular eyes flashed with a fierce light from time to time, looked at Su Fong and scolded the big man. Long Shan, shut up. Don't be rude to this friend. Then the thin man flew to the ground and cupped his fist to Su Fong. I am Long Yin, and this is my younger brother, Long Shan. He used to be quite famous in the heavens and realms, and was known as the Heavenly Dragon Twin Sages. As early as tens of thousands of years ago, we brothers entered the Advent God Palace. Entered the Advent God Palace tens of thousands of years ago. Su Fong sized up the two brothers. Under his extraordinary great perfection vision, he could sense the aura of the Advent Palace from the two of them. Moreover, he could faintly sense the high-level energy that came from beyond the heavens, as well as a majestic dragon aura. He could even see the shocking image of a golden dragon circling around them. Obviously, they were two human cultivators who cultivated the Dragon Clan's cultivation method, but they were not from the ancient Divine Dragon Clan. The ancient Divine Dragon Clan was also a human cultivator, but they had a thin Divine Dragon bloodline and were blessed with the Dragon Clan's cultivation method. In the heavens and realms, there were many cultivators who cultivated the Dragon Clan's cultivation method, but they were not as orthodox as the ancient Divine Dragon Clan. What puzzled Su Fong was that although the two of them did not have a high cultivation level, one was at the mid-stage of the Tao integration stage, and the other was at the late stage of the Tao integration stage. The dragon chi in their bodies was extremely pure and majestic, and it was also endlessly ancient and weathered. It was purer and more ancient than the self-proclaimed orthodox ancient Divine Dragon Clan cultivators, and it was superior to them. Strange, why are their auras so familiar? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Then realization dawned on him. The ancestral dragon. It turned out that the dragon chi on the two of them contained the ancestral dragon's aura. Mo Tiangong had once used a piece of the ancestral dragon's shed skin to refine a protective garment for Su Fong, so he was no stranger to the ancestral dragon's aura. Seeing that Su Fong was silent, the skinny man named Long Yin became much more affectionate. We brothers have stayed in the Advent Shrine for tens of thousands of years. Our luck was pretty good, and we found the ancestral dragon's treasure. It's a pity that we are not strong enough to obtain the key item to open the treasure. I can see that my friend's strength is extraordinary, so why don't we search for the treasure together, and then we can divide the treasure equally? What do you think? The ancestral dragon's treasure? There's actually the ancestral dragon's treasure in the Advent Palace? Su Fong was shocked. The ancestral dragon was the first divine dragon born in the chaos at the beginning of the world, and he was also the ancestor of all divine dragons. Legend had it that the dragon clan was insatiably greedy and loved to collect treasures. How astonishing would the ancestral dragon's treasure be? If he had not sensed the ancestral dragon's aura on the two of them, Su Fong would have ignored them. However, since they had the ancestral dragon's aura, the so-called ancestral dragon's treasure was quite possible. Those experts of the divine dragon ancient clan who had entered the Advent Palace were most likely here for the ancestral dragon's treasure. Of course, Long Yan's suggestion of searching for the treasure together and then dividing the treasure equally was obviously nonsense. Chapter 25:36. The skinny man Long Yan was overjoyed and became even more affectionate towards Su Fong. The fierce-looking Long Shan, on the other hand, had a fake smile on his face, and his deep eyes flashed with a fierce light from time to time. According to Long Yan, they had long discovered the ancestral dragon treasure on the first level of the Advent Palace, but unfortunately, they needed a magic treasure called the dragon-suppressing key to open the treasure. As for the dragon-suppressing key, the Sky Dragon sages had also found its location, which was in an underground palace under the ruins. Because the underground palace was full of restrictions, which posed a fatal threat to cultivators who practiced the Dragon Clan cultivation method, the two had sought help. Su Fong then asked the two of them how they managed to avoid the high-grade energy that would erupt from time to time and survive until now. The two of them answered vaguely, saying that they were hiding in a secret realm in the periphery of the ancestral dragon's treasure, and that was how they managed to survive until now. Su Fong naturally did not believe the Sky Dragon sage's words, and only believed 10%. Along the way, seeing that Su Fong's speed was too slow and seemed to be shackled by the high-level energy in the space, Long Yin used his dragon chi and flew with Su Fong. Although they could not teleport, their speed was as fast as lightning. Along the way, they encountered countless restrictions, some broken boundaries and chaotic energy zones, but the Sky Dragon sages easily bypassed the dangerous places as if they were familiar with the place. After flying for more than a month, they came to a bare mountain peak. There was a collapsed palace on the top of the mountain. From the broken walls and ruins, it could be seen that the palace used to be incomparably majestic and spectacular, but it had now become a pile of ruins. The dragon-suppressing key mentioned by the Sky Dragon sages was in the underground palace under the ruins. The central area of the ruins had been cleared by the Sky Dragon sages, revealing a cave entrance. A flight of stairs led straight to the underground palace, and a boundary sealed the cave entrance. The boundary was not the original one, but was later created by the Sky Dragon sages. Long Yin grabbed the boundary, and it immediately shattered. The restrictions from the passage to the entrance of the underground palace have been cleared by us brothers. The main restrictions are inside the underground palace. Long Yin explained and entered the passage first. Under Long Shan's fierce gaze, Su Fong stepped into the passage, and Long Shan was the last to enter. The deeper he went, the more shocking the cold chi was. It could freeze one's primordial spirit and inner world. Su Fong secretly absorbed the 9 frost chi from the primordial chaos sacred realm and fused it with some pure yang energy. The frost chi did not affect him at all. The celestial dragon sages had no choice but to use their draconic chi to form draconic scale armor around their bodies. They burned with astonishing draconic chi flames to resist the terrifying chill emanating from the underground palace. Seeing Su Fong easily resist the cold chi, the heavenly dragon twin sages were extremely surprised, and fear faintly arose in their hearts towards Su Fong. Along the way, there were shattered cracks in matter. There were also some places that had turned into nothingness, forming terrifying, devouring black holes. The three of them traveled cautiously, and it took them 6 hours to finally reach the ground. What appeared in front of them was an ancient stone door that had been sealed. Frost chi constantly seeped out from the space behind the stone door. Su Fong also sensed the aura of the heavenly Tao order. This should be the cave abode of some expert of the celestial worthy mountain. Even if there is no dragon-suppressing key inside, there should be many treasures. A desire surged in Su Fong's heart. Who could not live on the celestial worthy mountain was not a peerless expert. The treasures left behind must be extremely shocking. Su Fong was naturally very tempted. As for why the Advent Palace flew out of the celestial worthy mountain and appeared in the myriad worlds, and what kind of expert was in the cave abode, Su Fong did not think much about it. Long Yin came to the front of the cave entrance, activated his draconic chi to form a seal, and bombarded the stone door. The stone door immediately turned from material state into a boundary of nothingness, containing the supreme power of the heavenly Tao. Among them, there was also the cold and strict power of the heavenly Tao order. There was also a special power that had the power to restrain draconic chi, causing Su Fongda's dragon-subduing true body to involuntarily tremble. This discovery caused Su Fong to be astonished. Why is there a power that specifically restrains the dragon clan and the seal? Could it be that this boundary was specially created to prevent the dragon clan? However, Su Fong could also see that the seal and the stone door had been severely damaged. It was not something that the heavenly dragon twin sages could have done. Even Emperor Masters did not have the strength to do so. Otherwise, with the cultivation of the heavenly dragon twin sages, it would be difficult to shake the boundary even if they attacked it for an era. Long Yan's and Long Shan's eyes were shining brightly. They were obviously quite tempted by the treasures in the cave abode. Long Yan looked at Su Fong. The dragon-suppressing key is in this underground palace cave abode, and there are other treasures inside. Because the seal has the power to restrain draconic chi, it is difficult for us brothers to enter, but you don't have to worry. Later, we will help you enter to retrieve the treasures. The dragon-suppressing key will belong to us, and the remaining treasures will be divided equally among the three of us. Su Fong suddenly asked, "If you brothers kill me after I get the treasures, won't my efforts be in vain?" Su Fong also understood at this time why there were so many experts entering the Advent God Palace, and why the heavenly dragon twin sages chose him. Blocked by the seal, they had no choice but to find help. If the help they found was too powerful for them to deal with, not only would they not be able to get the treasures, but they would also lose their lives. If they were too weak, they would not be able to enter the cave abode. Most of the cultivators who entered the Advent God Palace came in groups. Those who were alone were confident of their strength. So how could the heavenly dragon twin sages dare to target them? Long Yin smiled embarrassedly. "Brother, you must be joking. We heavenly dragon twin sages are famous figures in the myriad heavens. So how could we do such a thing as killing and robbing?" Long Shan also said solemnly, "Compared to the ancestral dragon's treasure, the treasures in this cave abode are nothing. When we get the dragon-suppressing key, we still need your help to enter the ancestral dragon's treasure to search for treasures. How could we do such a thing?" Su Fong nodded and said, "In that case, I am relieved." Long Yin and Long Shan continued to activate the seal, constantly attacking the seal. Su Fong also secretly activated his great perfection stage ability to sense the powerful seal. He saw that within the seal, there was an ancient and vast formation formed by the power of the heavenly Tao interweaving together. Fortunately, the formation had been broken, otherwise the heavenly dragon twin sages would not have been able to shake it. The attack lasted for more than 10 days, and the seal gradually loosened. Long Yin shouted, "Quickly release the Yang spirit and enter the seal to get the dragon-suppressing key." Su Fong did not hesitate to peel off a strand of Yang spirit, and at the same time integrate it with the power of the yin-yang world. There may be danger inside the cave abode, but it did not matter. At most, he would lose a little primordial spirit power. As for the heavenly dragon twin sages, Su Fong had already ignored them and could not pose any threat to him. Sensing the extraordinary power of Su Fong's yin-yang world and yang spirit, the heavenly dragon twin sages looked at each other, deep fear in each other's eyes. Whoosh! Su Fong's yang spirit merged with a large amount of the power of the yin-yang world and flew directly into the inner world of the cave abode through the gap in the loosened formation. Fortunately, the yang spirit supported by the yin-yang world and merged with the power of the yin-yang world was not attacked by the seal when it passed through the seal and smoothly entered the cave abode. He looked carefully. Inside the cave abode was a cold, hidden black ice field. Su Fong estimated that it was the inner world left behind by a fallen Emperor Master. It was unknown what destructive force had impacted it, but the entire world was in a state of shattering. Matter was broken into a mass of paste floating in the space, and the energy had become extremely chaotic. QL11, Su Fong's yang spirit, searched the world, and sure enough, in a turbulent flow, he found an ancient black storage ring covered with cracks, but did not find any other treasures. The yang spirit used the power of the yin-yang world to sweep the storage ring over, and his primordial spirit consciousness penetrated into the space inside the storage ring. Inside the storage ring was a space with an ancient aura, or more accurately, a world with earth and mountains. Unfortunately, it had been impacted by an unknown, terrifying force, and just like the outside world, the matter inside the storage ring was all shattered, and even the space was torn. Obviously, this extremely high-level storage ring had been destroyed. Inside the storage ring, Su Fong found a lot of magic treasures and fragments of spiritual objects, but they were all worthless, and only two things were intact. A 1-foot-long key, exuding an astonishing ancient aura, was covered with heavenly marks and intertwined to form a golden dragon wrapped around the key. The dragon-suppressing key. This key-like magic treasure should be the dragon-suppressing key that the Sky Dragon twin sages were looking for. There was also an intact wooden tablet, which was actually made of soul-nourishing divine wood, and the primordial spirit power emitted by this soul-nourishing divine wood was comparable to Su Fong's ancestor devil blood plate. The power of the primordial spirit permeated into the wooden tablet, and immediately an old and vigorous dragon roar sounded from inside the wooden tablet, shattering Su Fong's primordial spirit consciousness. Even his yang spirit trembled and almost shattered. Su Fong thought to himself, this tablet is really not simple, and it probably has something to do with the ancestral dragon. Su Fong was somewhat disappointed that he did not find the treasure he had imagined in the cave abode. Whoosh! Su Fong's yang spirit used the power of the yin-yang world to sweep up the storage ring, and came out of the space shuttle formation inside the cave abode. Just as he was about to put his yang spirit back into his divine aperture, a terrifying dragon chi erupted from Long Shan's body, and he reached out to grab the storage ring. Unexpectedly, the storage ring shattered with a crack, as if a world had shattered. All kinds of material fragments swept out, filling the entire underground palace passage and burying the three of them alive. However, this was not a threat to a Dao integration cultivator. Chi! Long Shan struck out with a claw and grabbed the dragon-suppressing key, and the surrounding material fragments flew to the side and were shattered into pieces. The dragon-suppressing key is in our hands. Boss, let's do it! Long Shan shouted in surprise, and the two of them attacked Su Fong at the same time. Long Yin let out a roar from his mouth, which was like a dragon's roar, and had the astonishing power of the primordial spirit to attack Su Fong's yang spirit and divine aperture. Long Shan, on the other hand, transformed his upper body into a dragon, with a huge dragon head that was disproportionate to his lower body. His body was covered in green dragon scales, and his hands turned into dragon claws that were as sharp as knives. Then, Long Shan crossed his arms and attacked Su Fong's body with his dragon claws, intending to tear Su Fong into pieces. The two of them were quite afraid of Su Fong, and they could not wait to kill him and snatch his treasure. At this time, the two of them joined forces to launch a sudden attack, which could not be underestimated. Even Master God would be seriously injured. As for Su Fong, a Dao integration cultivator, how could he survive when the two of them attacked together? Chapter 2537. Boom! Long Yan's primordial spirit attack was like a flash flood. There was a golden dragon shadow galloping in it, trying to break Su Fong's yang spirit and divine aperture. Who knew? A burst of primordial spirit power suddenly erupted from Su Fong's divine aperture. If Long Yan's primordial spirit attack was like a flash flood, then Su Fong's primordial spirit power was like a vast ocean. No matter how ferocious a flash flood was, how could it be compared to a vast ocean? When Long Yan's primordial spirit attack hit Su Fong's primordial spirit power, it only caused some primordial spirit waves before it was swallowed up by the primordial spirit waves. Then, Su Fong's primordial spirit's divine aura crashed into Long Yan's divine aperture and destroyed its defenses. Then, the Yang spirit followed the primordial spirit's divine aura into his divine aperture ocean and executed the night demon's divine ability, charming God soul absorbing seal, to seize Long Yan's body. With the power of Su Fong's primordial spirit power and the night charm divine soul absorbing seal, he could easily seize Long Yan's primordial spirit without the help of his second primordial spirit to suppress a Dao integration cultivator. Just as Su Fong's primordial spirit power was suppressing Long Yan, his physical body was also attacked by Long Shan. Chi! Chi! The dragon claws tore Su Fong's clothes, but there was not even a white mark on his divine body. Instead, Long Shan was sent flying. Ew! How can a Dao integration cultivator have such a powerful physical body and primordial spirit? Master God, you are a peerless Master God. Long Shan's fierce face was full of fear. He knew that he had hit an iron plate, the hardest kind. Now, he thought he had caught a rabbit, but the rabbit turned into a ferocious and terrifying tiger. Long Shan's reaction was not slow. In shock and fear, he reacted quickly. He burned his dragon chi and turned into a divine dragon that was hundreds of feet long. With a swing of his tail, he broke through the sky with the help of the vibrating momentum. It just so happens that I need someone to lead the way. Let's see what kind of treasures are in the ancestral dragon's treasure trove. I'll let you live a little longer. Su Fong had no intention of chasing after him. Long Shan was merely at the mid-stage of the Dao integration realm. It would be ridiculous if he could not even suppress such an ant-like existence. However, Long Yin had nowhere to run. In the span of a dozen breaths, Su Fong seized his body and stripped his memories. Interesting. The so-called ancestral dragon's treasure is mine. When Su Fong deciphered Long Yan's memory, he was surprised and pleasantly surprised. The so-called ancestral dragon's treasure trove was purely imaginary. It was not a treasure, but a living ancestral dragon. It turned out that the two heavenly dragon sages had entered the Advent Palace tens of thousands of years ago to search for treasures. In the first level of the Advent Palace, they had unintentionally found a secret realm called the Coiling Dragon Mountain. He had originally planned to search for treasures, but in the end, the Coiling Dragon Mountain was actually transformed from the legendary ancestral dragon. QL11, it was the real ancestral dragon, the first divine dragon born after heaven and earth was created. It was not a flood dragon or a mixed blood dragon with an impure bloodline. For some unknown reason, the ancestral dragon had been imprisoned in the Advent Palace and could not leave. The two heavenly dragon sages were an unlucky pair. They had found the Coiling Dragon Mountain and thought that they would find some treasures. In the end, they had awakened the sealed ancestral dragon. However, the ancestral dragon did not kill them. Instead, he controlled them and searched for the dragon-suppressing key in the Advent Palace. Only the dragon-suppressing key could remove the ancestral dragon's seal and free it from its shackles. The underground palace that Su Fong was in was originally the world cave abode of an expert guarding the ancestral dragon from the celestial Worthy Mountain. The dragon-suppressing key was in his hands. For some unknown reason, the Advent Divine Palace left the exalted Celestial Mountain. At the same time, a terrifying force swept through the entire Advent Divine Palace, causing it to shatter. The experts, palaces, and buildings inside were all destroyed. Even the expert guarding the ancestral dragon could not escape the calamity. The two heavenly dragon sages went through untold hardships to find this place. In the end, the restriction on the stone door stopped them from entering. It was not that they had not sought help from experts in the past. In the end, They were either too weak and were frozen to death as soon as their young spirit entered the cave abode, or they were too strong. They had just revealed information about the ancestral dragon's treasure, and the other party wanted to suppress them and search their souls to find the secret of the ancestral dragon's treasure. Fortunately, the two of them were not weak and had mastered the powerful dragon clan's Abijna. Thus, they were lucky enough to escape. This time, they were even more unlucky. They directly bumped into Su Fong. In the end, they were no longer as lucky as before. Their boss, Long Yin, lost his life because of this. As for why the two heavenly dragon sages were able to survive until now in the Advent Palace, the reason was actually very simple. Following another change in heaven and earth, the world fragment in the depths of the Advent Palace spewed out high-level energy that swept through the entire Advent Palace. With the strength of the two heavenly dragon sages, it was originally not enough to save their lives. The reason they were able to survive until now was naturally because of the ancestral dragon's protection. After all, the ancestral dragon was one of the most powerful existences in heaven and earth. Su Fong estimated that he had reached the level of a transcendent expert. Although he was imprisoned, it was easy for him to protect two Dao integration cultivators. That Long Shan took the dragon-suppressing key. He must have gone to the place where the ancestral dragon is imprisoned. As long as I follow him, I can find the ancestral dragon. If I'm lucky, I might be able to kill the ancestral dragon while he is sealed. The dragon clan is the most greedy. I wonder how many treasures the ancestral dragon has collected. At the thought of the ancestral dragon's treasures, an uncontrollable desire surged in Su Fong's heart. Even if the ancestral dragon did not have any treasures, it did not matter. The ancestral dragon itself was a peerless treasure that surpassed the creation divine artifact. Su Fong even saw dragon blood, dragon scales, dragon skin. These were all supreme treasures that could be used to refine Dharma treasures and improve one's cultivation. As he thought about it, Su Fong felt a little greedy. Su Fong stored Long Yan's corpse into his body. He was only a Dao integration cultivator. Although he cultivated the Dragon Clan's cultivation technique and had dragon energy, his life essence and dragon energy were very limited. Su Fong did not care about it now. He directly threw it to the big goblin under his command. Then, Su Fong reached out and grabbed a black wooden tablet from the floating dust. It was the tablet that was placed together with the dragon-suppressing key. The dragon-suppressing key was snatched away by Long Shan, but this wooden tablet was left behind. The golden rainbow monarch's voice came from the creation wood in his body. Hey kid, this thing is not simple. It's a beast tablet that surpassed the ancient era's cultivators. It was specially used to control divine beasts. Beast tablet? What is that? Su Fong was confused. Back in the ancient era, many cultivators liked to control powerful divine beasts and ferocious beasts to assist in battle and increase their overall strength. At that time, there were many forbidden techniques to control divine beasts and ferocious beasts. Unfortunately, they have long been lost. This beast tablet is one of the methods to control divine beasts and ferocious beasts. According to this king's knowledge, some cultivators stripped divine beasts and ferocious beasts of their primordial spirit origin when they were still very weak and sealed them in the beast tablet. In the future, when divine beasts and ferocious beasts grow up, no matter how powerful they become, they can be controlled through the beast tablet. If they are disobedient, they can directly destroy the primordial spirit in the beast tablet, which can seriously injure or even kill their primordial spirit. The golden rainbow monarch began to show off. Su Fong's heart began to beat rapidly. A dragon soul is sealed in this beast tablet, and it was placed together with the dragon-suppressing key. Could it be that this wooden tablet is the beast tablet to control the ancestral dragon? The golden rainbow monarch clicked his tongue and sighed. It's most likely so. Kid, your luck is so good that it defies the heavens. You can actually obtain the ancestral dragon's beast tablet. This king can't help but admire your luck. I hope that this king can also benefit from your good luck by following you. Su Fong was very surprised. This is really strange. How can a dignified ancestral dragon be controlled by others? The golden rainbow monarch said faintly. What's so strange about that? This is the divine palace of Advent from the celestial worthy mountain. To be able to strip the ancestral dragon of its primordial spirit when it was still weak and small and create a beast tablet, other than that heavenly Lord of creation. Who else can do it? You're right. I'm afraid that only the heavenly Lord of creation can control the ancestral dragon. Heavenly Lord of creation. Other than the heavenly Lord who created this universe, no one else can control the ancestral dragon. Poor ancestral dragon. The ancestor of the divine dragon clan is being kept as a pet by the heavenly Lord. How pitiful. The entire universe belongs to the heavenly Lord. He can do whatever he wants. What's so pitiful about being his pet? On the contrary, it's the ancestral dragon's supreme honor. Next, the ancestral dragon will become the pet of me, a lower lord. That's what's truly pitiful. Su Fong let out a complacent laugh, causing the golden rainbow monarch to involuntarily sympathize with the ancestral dragon. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Let's go. Let's capture that divine dragon's ancestor to play with. The golden rainbow monarch hurriedly said, when the time comes, we must let this king ride the ancestral dragon and swim around the universe. How awe-inspiring would that be? Do you want me to follow behind you and be your follower? Wouldn't that be even more awe-inspiring? That's a pretty good idea. How can I let you be my follower? Wouldn't this king be cursed to death by the gods of the universe? Su Fong smiled as he kept the beast token and left the underground palace. Arriving at the ruins on top of the mountain, Su Fong unleashed his great perfection stage ability. Together with the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, he projected his sensing power out. Very quickly, he sensed Long Shan's aura, which was flying rapidly towards the depths of the Advent God Palace. Now that Su Fong had the ancestral dragon's beast token in his hands, even if Long Shan released the ancestral dragon, Su Fong could use the beast token to suppress it. Hence, he wasn't in a hurry to capture Long Shan and retrieve the dragon-suppressing key. Instead, he leisurely followed Long Shan from afar. With Long Shan's strength, coupled with the fact that he was already scared half to death and was frantically running for his life, it was impossible for him to sense Su Fong, who was following behind him. With Long Shan leading the way in front, Su Fong avoided countless restrictions, traps, and many chaotic energy zones along the way. He seemed to be very relaxed. Along the way, Su Fong began to fuse with the ancestral dragon's beast token to control it. Different from fusing with magic treasures, fusing with a beast token was much easier. He only needed to permeate his essence blood and primordial spirit into the beast token to fuse with it. In this way, he could control the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit origin sealed within the beast token and control the ancestral dragon. At the same time, Su Fong also unleashed the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to sense the divine dragon's shadow sealed within the beast token. He could determine that it was the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit origin. He could use it to control the ancestral dragon. Chapter 2538. Long Shan flew for more than 3 months, passing through many perilous places, and finally arrived at the depths of the first level of the Advent Palace. A mountain range that looked like a dragon crawling on the ground appeared in his sight. It stretched for nearly 100,000 miles. Damn bastard, how dare you pretend to be weak? Big Brother's life must be in danger now. Wait until I release Lord Ancestor Dragon. I'll let him eat you first. By then, I'll skin you alive and let Lord Ancestor Dragon devour your blood, chi, and primordial spirit bit by bit. Long Shan was completely relieved when he saw Pan Long Mountain. Thinking of how he almost died at Su Fong's hands, he gritted his teeth and imagined how Lord Ancestor Dragon would torture Su Fong. Boom, boom, boom. An earth-shattering commotion suddenly came from Pan Long Mountain. Long Shan looked over in shock. Only then did he realize that there were more than 10 deities using their divine abilities to attack the seal around Pan Long Mountain. The ancient divine dragon clan? The ancient divine dragon clan has come to Pan Long Mountain too. This is bad. If the ancient divine dragon clan takes the credit, won't the reward Lord Ancestor Dragon promise go up in smoke? Longshan turned pale with fright and felt cold all over. Su Fong also saw the ancient divine dragon clan cultivators attacking the seal from afar. Only then did he realize that the ancient divine dragon clan had come for the sealed ancestral dragon. It was no wonder that they were not afraid of being wiped out in the Advent Divine Palace. Su Fong had the Beast Tamer token and was confident of victory, so he was not in a hurry at all. He stopped at a distance and did not deliberately hide his tracks. He stood in the air with his arms crossed and watched the show. More than a dozen ancient divine dragon clan experts and overgods attacked Pan Long Mountain at the same time for more than 10 days. The shackles of the space inside the Advent Palace and the high-grade energy that filled the space made them extremely exhausted. They kept swallowing elixirs to maintain their Dharma power and divine essence. The rocks on Pan Long Mountain were reduced to ashes under the attacks of the ancient divine dragon clan experts. A divine dragon crawling on the ground like a mountain range appeared in front of them. This divine dragon was 100,000 kilometers long just by coiling on the ground. Once it fully unfurled its body, it would probably be close to 1,000,000 kilometers long. The divine dragon had golden scales that shone brightly in this hazy space. His entire body exuded an ancient aura, as well as a supreme, domineering aura that looked down upon the world. Ancestral dragon. In this part of the universe, the ancestor of all the mystical dragons, the first dragon born at the beginning of the universe. However, at this moment, ancestral Gragon was firmly shackled to the ground, unable to move at all. Around it was a barrier that was almost invisible to the naked eye. The barrier was extremely powerful. No matter how the ancient divine dragon clan powerhouses attacked, the barrier only trembled slightly. In order to break through the barrier, it would take the ancient divine dragon clan elites 1,000,000 years. The shackles on the ancestral dragon were not only limited to this barrier. On the ancestral dragon's body, there were thick metal chains that pierced through its head and spine, binding its dragon claws. The other end of the chains extended deep into the ground. It was unknown what material the black chain was made of, but it was covered with densely packed marks. On the ancestral dragon's neck, where the chains intersected, was a huge black metal lock. The chains were integrated into the entire Advent Palace. If one wanted to break the chains, they would need to have the power to shake the entire Advent Palace. A bunch of trash. If you continue attacking like this, I won't be able to break free from my shackles when the world is destroyed. Stop it. The ancestral dragon suddenly let out a deep, ancient roar, causing the space to tremble. The ancient divine dragon clan cultivators could no longer stay in the air and fell to the ground, embarrassed and embarrassed. Longshan was also caught off guard and fell to the ground, almost falling to his death. Roar. The ancestral dragon suddenly let out an angry roar. Wherever the sound waves swept, the space collapsed layer by layer. It felt as if the entire Advent Palace was trembling. The ancestral dragon slowly raised its head, and its huge body floated up from the ground, causing the earth to shake violently. Chi! 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 Black divine light shot out from the chains and drilled into the ancestral dragon's body. The scales on its body could not block the divine light at all. Black smoke rose from the ancestral dragon's body, and it roared in pain, causing a large area of the surrounding space to collapse. Matter was shattered into dust and swept into the sky by the wind. The entire Advent Divine Palace was trembling violently. Many of the remaining buildings collapsed. Restrictions were triggered one after another, causing great chaos. Su Fong, who was in the distance, was also affected. He had to use the power of the Yin-Yang world to control his body. He was extremely shocked. This ancestral dragon has been sealed for who knows how long, but it's still so powerful. It can almost shake the entire Advent Palace. Its strength is obviously above the Emperor level. Then, his heart was burning with excitement. Such a powerful existence was about to become a slave under his control. How could he not be excited and look forward to it? Emperor Tru Yang, Brahma D, and the Emperor-level expert from the Fire Gaju clan who had entered the Advent Palace to search for treasures were also shocked when they heard the ancestral dragon's roar. What kind of powerful existence is that? Could it be that there's a transcendent realm expert in the Advent Palace? The interior of the Advent Palace is indeed full of danger. I can't believe there's such a powerful existence in the first level. It's even more powerful than the Emperor-level expert. We can't stay here for long. Quickly enter the second level and find the supreme treasure. Then, quickly leave the Advent Palace. Emperor Tru Yang hurriedly urged the others to quickly fly toward the palace wall barrier that led to the second level. Even a venerable emperor was frightened to this extent, not to mention the other practitioners who had ventured into the Advent Palace. Some of them even began to think of retreating. It was not just the human cultivators. The Tao-defying Alliance experts who had entered the Advent Palace from the side that was controlled by the Tao-defying Alliance were also shocked when they heard the ancestral dragon's roar. It's that old dragon who was used as a mount by the heavenly venerables. Later, he was shackled here. I didn't expect him to still be alive and so fierce. The one who spoke was none other than the clone that had descended upon this world. The ancestor fiend, who was following behind the clone, raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. The ancestral dragon? I didn't expect that old dragon to still be alive. I'm afraid he already has the strength of a transcendent realm expert. The clone said coldly, that old dragon was used as a mount by the heavenly venerables to roam the outer space. He already has the strength of a transcendent realm expert. However, after being shackled for so many years, his vitality must have been greatly damaged. It's difficult for him to use much of his strength. The ancestor fiend said, it seems like the ancestral dragon wants to break the seal. Once he escapes, it'll be a huge problem. Should we kill him? The clone pondered for a moment before shaking his head. The ancestral dragon won't be able to escape the seal in a short time. He's not a threat. It won't be too late to come back and suppress the ancestral dragon after we obtain the supreme treasure in the depths of the palace. The Tao-defying Alliance's group of nearly 100 experts quickly moved toward the depths of the Advent Palace. The ancestral dragon struggled for a while. Not only did he fail to break free from the chains, but he was also covered in wounds from the force released by the chains. He had no choice but to give up. The ancestral dragon had expended a lot of energy in this attempt to break free from the shackles. He breathed out dragon breath that shot dozens of miles away, incinerating mountains into ashes. It was a terrifying sight. The ancestral dragon roared, the dragon-suppressing key. Unless I find the dragon-suppressing key, I won't be able to break free from this damned seal. You bunch of stupid human cultivators. Hurry up and find the dragon-suppressing key. Yes, the cultivators of the Divine Dragon clan were about to leave to search for the dragon-suppressing key. Suddenly, Longshan rushed out and shouted, Lord Ancestral Dragon, I've found the dragon-suppressing key. It's in my hands. The dragon-suppressing key? The experts of the Divine Dragon clan were shocked and stunned. The patriarch of the Divine Dragon clan's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and coldness. He appeared in front of Longshan in a flash, and a terrifying dragon aura enveloped Longshan. Give me the dragon-suppressing key. Longshan trembled and shouted, Lord Ancestral Dragon, I found the dragon-suppressing key, so I'll take all the credit. What you promised. Before he could finish, the patriarch of the Divine Dragon clan unleashed his divine might and shattered his divine body and primordial spirit. Blood splattered everywhere. The dragon-suppressing key flew out of the bloody water and was caught by the patriarch of the Divine Dragon clan. The ancestral dragon cried out in surprise. It really is the dragon-suppressing key. Hurry up and give it to me to unlock the shackles. The ancestral dragon didn't care about Longshan's life or death at all. Su Fong saw this scene and was shocked by the Divine Dragon clan's ruthlessness and the ancestral dragon's heartlessness. The patriarch of the Divine Dragon clan flew to the ancestral dragon's head and knelt before him. He said respectfully, I found the dragon-suppressing key for Lord Ancestral Dragon. I hope that Lord Ancestral Dragon will take into account that we have your bloodline and have done a great service for you. Once you're free, please don't forget your promise and support our clan." The Ancestral Dragon said in a majestic voice, "I didn't hesitate to consume my origin energy and use the eruption of the power of the outer world to send you a message with a supreme forbidden art. I asked you to come here. I promise that as long as you help me escape, I'll make you the #1 god clan in all the worlds and replace the Imperial people. Now that you have the dragon-suppressing key, do you think you can blackmail me?" The Patriarch of the Divine Dragon Clan trembled and said hurriedly, "How dare you?" The Ancestral Dragon stared coldly at the Patriarch of the Divine Dragon Clan and said, "Then why aren't you opening the seal for me?" "Yes." The Patriarch of the Divine Dragon Clan didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately unleashed his divine might and wrapped the dragon-suppressing key around the Ancestral Dragon's neck. QL11, the barrier around the Ancestral Dragon automatically parted. The dragon-suppressing key passed through and inserted itself into the black lock's keyhole. Crack! The iron lock was opened, and then all the chains retracted into the ground, disappearing without a trace. The surrounding enchantment also quickly disappeared. "I'm free. I'm finally free. Ha ha ha." Chapter 25:39. The Ancestral Dragon looked like a huge golden mountain as it flew through the sky, tearing through the haze and shattering countless restrictions. Bolts of lightning flashed on the Ancestral Dragon's body. Terrifying divine power shrouded the first level of the Advent Divine Palace. Matter shattered and space shook, forcing the cultivators of the Divine Dragon Clan to kneel on the ground, not daring to move. Su Fong could no longer fly and landed on the ground. "Roar, roar, roar. Heavenly Venerable, you shackled me and made me your mount. Now, your universe is about to be destroyed. I don't know if you're dead or alive, but I'm still alive and well. Ha ha. After so many years, I'll take back what you owe me. I'll control your universe and become the master of all worlds." The Ancestral Dragon let out a series of joyful and violent roars, venting his anger and resentment that had been sealed for countless years. The wind and clouds stirred, and the sky changed color. The entire Advent Divine Palace was trembling violently. It was unknown how many remaining buildings had collapsed and how many restrictions had been triggered or shattered by the tremors. The astonishing restrictions in the air caused the Ancestral Dragon's body to be drenched in blood. However, it didn't care at all as it rushed forward recklessly. It was wild and happy. The cultivators of the Divine Dragon Clan looked up at the Ancestral Dragon in the sky with awe and excitement. "The heavens are not going to destroy our clan. Lord Ancestral Dragon has broken out of the seal. Who in the universe can defeat him? Humph, the Divine Dragon Clan is in dire straits. Even the Divine Phoenix Clan uses Su Fong and Xuanxin's power to suppress us. With Lord Ancestral Dragon's support, we must destroy the Divine Phoenix Clan. Lord Ancestral Dragon is now the most powerful cultivator in the universe. Even the Imperial people are no match for Lord Ancestral Dragon. Isn't it easy to destroy the Divine Phoenix Clan? Not only the Divine Phoenix Clan, but the Imperial people will also have to kneel and submit to us. And that's Su Fong. How arrogant was he back then? He looked down on our clan and humiliated our clan's geniuses. Now, he is arrogant and despotic in the myriad of worlds. All of them will be suppressed. They will either submit to our clan or die." The experts of the ancient Divine Dragon Clan communicated secretly with their primordial spirits. They were all overjoyed and their hearts swelled. They imagined the ancient Divine Dragon Clan dominating all the worlds and making them submit to them. The prodigy of the ancient Divine Dragon Clan was in high spirits. He was fantasizing about stepping on Su Fong's head and rising to become the #1 prodigy in the multiverse. Phew, the ancestral Graygon swaggered in the air for an hour before he transformed into his human form. He transformed into a golden-robed young man and landed on the ground. "Greetings to Lord Ancestral Dragon. The powerhouses of the ancient divine dragon clan all knelt and bowed to the ancestral dragon. The ancestral Gragon was dressed in a golden robe. He had a square face, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. He exuded an imposing aura without being angry. Golden light occasionally flashed in his eyes. His aura was ethereal, as if he did not belong to this world. The ancestral Gragon said majestically, "I have been sealed for countless years. I am severely injured and urgently need to recover. Then, I will enter the depths of the divine palace and obtain the supreme treasure left behind by the heavenly venerate. Quickly search for various high-grade spiritual items for me. If you can't find any, you human experts can do it too. The more the better. Go." Yes. The cultivators of the ancient divine dragon clan did not dare to disagree. They all offered their pills, spiritual items, and various other resources to the ancestral Gragon. How much dragon chi had the ancestral Gragon consumed after being sealed here for at least an epoch? He had to seize the opportunity to become stronger. The resources that the cultivators of the ancient divine dragon clan offered were at most resources that overgods used for cultivation. They were not even enough to fill the gaps between the ancestral Gragon's teeth. They were only doing this to show their loyalty. Then, the dozen or so experts of the ancient divine dragon clan quickly left and flew in different directions. It would be best if they could find spiritual items. If they could not, they could only find some unlucky people to become food for the ancestral Gragon. "You're all very busy." Su Fong flew over slowly and sneered at the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan. "It's you." Among the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan, the others might not have any impression of Su Fong, but the genius of the ancient divine dragon clan had a deep impression of Su Fong. "When we entered the divine palace of Advent, I asked you to join our clan to search for treasures, but you didn't know how to appreciate our kindness. Now that you've come out of your own accord, it's your bad luck. Be a good boy and surrender." The genius of the ancient divine dragon clan laughed maliciously and pounced on Su Fong. "Be careful, this person is not simple." The clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan warned loudly. QL11. The commotion here was so earth-shattering that ordinary cultivators would have fled in fear. Not only did Su Fong not run for his life, but he even came to them voluntarily. He was either an idiot or had something to rely on. "You've already committed a capital offense by attacking me earlier. Now that you're still acting so recklessly, you deserve to die even more." Su Fong roared domineeringly and took a step forward. His fist of annihilation was imbued with a terrifying divine might that could destroy heaven and earth as he punched out at the genius of the ancient divine dragon clan. Puffed. The genius of the ancient divine dragon clan was also an extraordinary genius. After cultivating in the Yuan Tiangong for so many years, he had already reached the pinnacle of the Dao integration pinnacle stage with the help of the Yuan Tiangong. However, under the might of Su Fong's fist of annihilation, he was completely defenseless. His divine might and defense were easily breached by Su Fong, and his divine body was pulverized by the terrifying power of the fist of annihilation. Even his primordial spirit did not manage to escape and was killed. "You're courting death." The experts of the ancient divine dragon clan were shocked and shocked. Then, they flew into a rage and charged toward Su Fong. At this moment, the clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan shouted in a trembling voice, "Stop! He's Su Fong." To be able to become the patriarch of the four divine beasts' ancient clans, his eyesight was naturally extraordinary. Moreover, Su Fong did not deliberately hide his identity, so the patriarch of the divine dragon ancient clan immediately recognized him from his apocalyptic fist. Su Fong. All the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Their bodies stiffened, and a chill seeped from their backs. Seeing the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan trembling like frightened chickens, Su Fong suddenly felt a surge of pride in his heart. Back in a great world, and when he had just arrived in the myriad worlds, Su Fong had to look up to the status of the ancient divine beast clans. When he heard the names of these ancient divine clans, his heart trembled. Now, the ancient divine dragon clan, who had once been like the heavens, were frightened to this extent after hearing his name. Countless cultivators and cultivators wanted to set foot on the supreme peak. Wasn't it to make everyone look up to them and tremble in fear? Our clan has Lord Ancestral Dragon. Why should we fear Su Fong? The clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan roared angrily. All the experts quickly reacted. Now that the ancient divine dragon clan had the ancestral dragon support, so what if Su Fong had the strength to kill a venerable sovereign? At this thought, all the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan were emboldened. The clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan shouted majestically, "Su Fong, if you submit to our clan now, I won't pursue the crime of killing our clan's genius." Su Fong laughed as if he had heard a joke. He said, domineeringly, "If the ancient divine dragon clan is willing to submit to me now, I won't pursue the crime of offending me and will treat you as ordinary slaves. I guarantee that you'll be treated the same as the cultivators and big goblin under my command." Arrogant to the extreme, the clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan snorted coldly. "I thought you were extraordinary because you had the strength to kill a venerable sovereign, but I didn't expect you to be such an arrogant person. Since you don't know what's good for you, I can only suppress you. When the time comes, I'll shackle your primordial spirit and divine body, and you'll still have to listen to me obediently." Suppress Su Fong? With just you? Su Fong snorted disdainfully and swept his disdainful gaze across the dozen or so experts of the ancient divine dragon clan. The experts of the ancient divine dragon clan instinctively retreated in fear. The person they were facing now was not an ordinary overgod expert, but a killing god who could even kill a supreme sovereign at the slightest disagreement. With Lord Ancestral Dragon here, do you think you could be so arrogant? The clan leader of the ancient divine dragon clan shouted domineeringly, looking insufferably arrogant. Su Fong smiled coldly. Your ancestral dragon is just a slightly bigger loach in the eyes of Su Fong. Not only you, but your ancestral dragon will also become my slaves. The experts of the ancient divine dragon clan all gasped. How arrogant did he have to be to look down on the ancestral dragon? In their eyes, Su Fong was like a madman and idiot. Human, how dare you look down on me? The ancestral dragon's cold voice came from afar. Since the day this ancestor was born, no one in this world has ever dared to look down on this ancestor except for the supreme Empyreans. Even those sovereigns and transcendents have to be respectful when they see this ancestor. Human brat, I'm very curious. Where did you get the courage to look down on me? The experts of the ancient divine dragon clan looked at Su Fong as if they were looking at a dead man. As soon as the ancestral dragon finished speaking, there was a flash of golden light, and he appeared above Su Fong. He stood with his hands behind his back as if the heavens were looking down on an ant. After sizing up Su Fong, the ancestral dragon's cold and indifferent eyes flashed with golden light. A mere lower chief god actually has the aura of a transcendent. Moreover, your aura is very similar to that of a heavenly venerate. Are you the successor of a heavenly venerate? Su Fong smiled domineeringly. You can say that. I wonder if someone of my status is qualified to be your new master? I can turn you to dust with a sneeze, but you dare to be so arrogant in front of me. You must have something to rely on. I'm very curious. Wait until I devour you and strip you of your memories. I'll see what makes you so arrogant. A divine shadow leaped out of the ancestral dragon's eyes and turned into a lifelike golden dragon. It appeared in front of Su Fong in an instant and opened its mouth, about to swallow Su Fong. Suddenly, the divine light in the ancestral dragon's eyes changed inexplicably, and there was a look of extreme fear in his eyes. He let out a blood-curdling scream, and his body trembled violently. He could no longer maintain his flight and fell to the ground, struggling in pain. Beast Tamer Badge. Why is my Beast Tamer Badge in your hands? Chapter 2540. The ancestral Greygon's inexplicable transformation left the experts of the ancient divine dragon clan baffled and confused. The beast token was different from the usual method of primordial spirit shackling. As long as one's primordial spirit was powerful enough or possessed a primordial spirit forbidden technique, the primordial spirit could be sealed and erased. The beast token imprisoned the ancestral Greygon's primordial spirit origin. No matter how powerful he could only escape the beast token's control by destroying his own primordial spirit. However, that would be equivalent to suicide. With the ancestral Greygon's beast token, Su Fong could threaten the ancestral Greygon's primordial spirit origin with just a thought. The ancestral Greygon's primordial spirit would also be severely injured. If the ancestral Greygon's primordial spirit origin in the beast token was destroyed, the ancestral Greygon would die as well. Moreover, Su Fong had merged with the beast token. As long as the ancestral Greygon attacked him, the beast token would automatically backfire on him. Even the slightest hint of murderous intent towards Su Fong could be easily detected by Su Fong. Therefore, Su Fong's possession of the beast token was equivalent to him controlling the ancestral Greygon's lifeline. No matter how powerful he was like a loach at the moment, unable to cause much trouble. Su Fong sneered. Ancestral Greygon. Now you should understand why I'm acting so arrogant in front of you, right? The beast token is in my hands, so you're my slave. What's wrong with me being a little arrogant in front of slave? The beast token. Damn it. Why didn't I think of the beast token? The ancestral Greygon gritted his teeth. His dignified face was contorted and looked ferocious. It had escaped from its shackles with great difficulty, but in just a short while, it had fallen into someone else's control. How could the ancestral Greygon not feel resentful? Moreover, the one controlling its fate was a lower-rank Lord Cultivator who was like an ant in its eyes. The hatred in the divine dragon ancient ancestor's heart could burn the sky and boil the sea. A bunch of fools. Kill him. Ancestral Greygon roared at the divine dragon clan with a vicious look in his eyes. Su Fong had the beast tamer medallion. If the ancestral dragon attacked him, it would be destroyed. However, the ancestral dragon could order the cultivators of the divine dragon clan to kill Su Fong. As long as they killed him before Su Fong activated the beast tamer medallion, the ancestral dragon would regain its freedom. In ancestral Greygon's opinion, although Su Fong was extraordinary, the ancient divine dragon tribe could easily crush Su Fong if they released their divine auras at the same time. But the result left ancestral Greygon dumbfounded. Can they kill me? Su Fong's divine light swept over the experts of the divine dragon clan, his eyes full of contempt and mockery. Under Su Fong's gaze, the dozen or so groups of experts from the divine dragon ancient clan all looked terrified and instinctively retreated. You? Are all human cultivators as cowardly as you? He's only a lower lord. There's a peak lord-level expert among you, and you even have a trace of my bloodline. You've also cultivated the cultivation methods and divine powers that I've passed down. Why should you be afraid of him? Pigs, a bunch of pigs. If you don't kill him, I'll devour all of you. Ancestral Greygon roared again. He was truly enraged by these cultivators of the divine dragon ancient clan. He immediately revealed his ferocious side and opened his mouth, inhaling sharply at a middle-rank lord-level expert of the divine dragon ancient clan. Poof! The body of the expert of the divine dragon ancient clan collapsed and turned into a pool of blood. He was devoured by ancestral Greygon without any resistance. Even his primordial spirit and world were devoured. Let's join forces and kill Su Fong. The clan leader of the divine dragon ancient clan knew that they had no choice but to kill Su Fong today. Not to mention that the divine dragon ancient clan would never be able to leave ancestral Greygon. If they did not attack this time, ancestral Greygon would mercilessly devour all of them one by one. With so many of them joining forces, they might stand a chance. Roar! The shadow of a huge black dragon appeared above the head of the clan leader of the divine dragon ancient clan. It was his heavenly Tao Dharma idol. The other divine dragon ancient clan powerhouses gritted their teeth and released their heavenly Tao Dharma idols. Some formed hand seals or activated powerful Dharma idols, hoping that they would be able to suppress Su Fong if they joined forces. Whoosh! A figure leaped out and turned into a demon monkey. The vertical eye between the demon monkey's brows released a mighty shadow. It swept across the sky in an instant and turned into a long staff that seemed to hold up the sky. It smashed down viciously with a force that could shatter heaven and earth. Even Su Fong was a little shocked. Bang! The heavenly Tao Dharma idol of a lower-rank Lord-level expert of the Divine Dragon Ancient Clan was shattered, and his body was smashed into minced meat. Immediately after that, figures were released by Su Fong one after another. Moon Emperor Wang Tian, Dropout Shepherd, Contract Fence, Clam Turtle. The clan leader of the Divine Dragon Ancient Clan looked bitter. The other Divine Dragon Ancient Clan powerhouses were also scared out of their wits. They immediately gave up on the idea of killing Su Fong, a venerable emperor, and so many other powerhouses. How were they supposed to fight him? The clan leader of the Divine Dragon Ancient Clan burned his cultivation without hesitation. He turned around and escaped into the void. The others also fled in different directions. A bunch of idiots. What else can you do other than become my food? The ancestral Greygon did not expect this outcome. He immediately went berserk. QL11, he reached out and grabbed the air. A huge claw print covered the sky. Whether it was the clan leader of the Divine Dragon Ancient Clan who had escaped into the void or the other Divine Dragon Ancient Clan powerhouses, they were all grabbed out by him. Their bodies were crushed and turned into blood, which he swallowed in one gulp. Then, the ancestral Greygon glared fiercely at Su Fong. You're extraordinary to be able to control a venerable emperor. However, you're dreaming if you think you can shackle me. Give me the Beast Tamer token, and I promise not only that I won't kill you, but I'll also protect you. From now on, no one in this world will dare to touch a hair on your head. Su Fong sneered. Do you think I'm an idiot? Or have you become an idiot after being sealed for so long? Do you think I'll be able to live if I give you the Beast Tamer token? You have no other choice but to submit to me obediently. Submit to you? I'm the first divine dragon in the world. Why would I submit to a mere lower-rank lord like you? The ancestral Greygon stared at Su Fong. His eyes were full of disdain and contempt. Su Fong said domineeringly, There's no point in talking to you. I have your Beast Tamer token. Your life is in my hands. Either you die or submit to me. You have no other choice. The ancestral Greygon's face was full of arrogance and disdain. You're just an ant-like human. Don't underestimate me. Since I was born, I've only submitted to one person, and that was the Supreme Heavenly Lord. Who do you think you are? How dare you make me submit to you? You can kill me, but don't even think about submitting to me. As expected of the ancestral Greygon, his bones were extraordinarily tough and unyielding. Su Fong took out the Beast Tamer token and activated the restriction on the wooden token. It attacked the ancestral Greygon's primordial spirit origin in the Beast Tamer token. The ancestral Greygon immediately screamed in pain. His body sometimes transformed into millions of giant divine dragons, and sometimes into a half-dragon, half-human monster. He looked miserable. Su Fong said coldly, Do you need to change your choice now? The ancestral Greygon roared, Little ant, even if you kill me, don't think I'll submit to you. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. He was in a difficult position. The ancestral Greygon was acting like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Su Fong was really helpless. He was naturally reluctant to kill the ancestral Greygon. It was a pity to kill such a powerful expert. It was even more impossible to let him go. The ancestral Greygon was an ancient existence that was born when heaven and earth were created. How cunning was he? He had already figured out Su Fong's thoughts. He was sure that Su Fong would not kill him. Seeing Su Fong in a difficult position, his deep eyes revealed a smug look. Su Fong thought for a moment and activated the restriction on the Beast Tamer token again, causing the ancestral Greygon to be in great pain. Chi! Su Fong activated the God-slaying saber and slashed down on the ancestral Gregon's body. Since he did not want to kill him and could not subdue him, Su Fong might as well let the ancestral Gregon bleed. That was a treasure that no spiritual item of heaven and earth could compare to. Who would have thought that the god-slaying saber's divine might would be easily blocked by the ancestral Gregon's scales when it slashed down on him? It did not cause him the slightest injury. The ancestral Gregon mocked loudly. "Human brat, you'll probably have to cultivate for another dozen or so eras if you want to hurt me. With your current lower-rank Lord-level abilities, you don't even have the right to tickle me." Haha. Su Fong's expression darkened. He activated the god-slaying saber again and again. The result was the same as before. The ancestral Gregon lay there and allowed him to attack. He could not hurt the ancestral Gregon at all. "I really can't do anything to you." Su Fong was enraged. With a flip of his right palm, the Chaos Holy Mirror appeared in his palm. He faced the quasi-ancestral Gregon with the mirror. The ancestral Gregon was a little panicked now. He focused his gaze. "The Chaos Holy Mirror? You actually have the Chaos Holy Mirror that the Heavenly Lord refined meticulously back then?" However, he snorted disdainfully. "You're just a lower-rank lord. Even if you have the Chaos Holy Mirror, how much of its power can you activate?" Chi. The Chaos Holy Mirror was activated by Su Fong. A red glow shot out from the mirror and enveloped the ancestral Gregon's colossal body in his dragon form. As soon as the red glow landed on the ancestral Gregon's body, it quickly ignited. The terrifying Nine-Yang true fire burned on the ancestral Gregon's body. Only then did the ancestral Gregon panic. He hurriedly activated his dragon aura to resist the overbearing power of the Nine-Yang true fire. How could Su Fong give him a chance? He activated the seal and the beast token again. The ancestral Gregon's primordial spirit began to distort and shatter. He was in excruciating pain. Even if his abilities were heaven-defying, he could not use them at all. Under the dual attack of the beast token and the Chaos Holy Mirror, the ancestral Gregon could not escape. He could only resist the overbearing power of the Nine-Yang true fire with his physical body. His scales began to melt gradually. His blood chi and impurities were also forcefully refined by the mirror. "Since you're unwilling to submit to me, there's not much use in keeping you alive. I'll refine you with the Chaos Holy Mirror. It'll definitely help me quickly elevate to peak Lord level. It might even be possible for me to become a supreme god." Su Fong displayed his decisive and ruthless side. No matter how powerful the ancestral dragon was, it was useless if he couldn't use it for himself. Rather than that, he might as well refine it into a chaos essence bead. Su Fong peeled off a strand of Yang spirit and continued to activate the Hun Yuan sacred mirror. The Nine Yang divine fire burned unhurriedly in the red light. At the same time, he used his divine telekinesis to activate the restrictions on the beast taming token from time to time. Anyway, he was not in a hurry and could take his time. At most, he would spend a few hundred years. Sooner or later, he would be able to refine the ancestral dragon. Furthermore, he was not in a hurry to destroy the ancestral Gregon's primordial spirit with the help of the Beast Tamer badge. He always knew when to stop, leaving the ancestral Gregon with a little bit of hope. Would he look at the Moon Emperor and the heavens? Suppressing chlorine? A thirsty swan? Hydra? Zhang Zhang Dao? Hulu? Locust Tree? Zhan Zhan Chuan is jealous of Yin Yin Badger, Mother Leopard Gambling? 3. Tilting the jealous blue rains? Soul? Locust Tree hissing and tilling poison, traitorous and malarial disease? Ling Ling? Eulogy and Cassock. Chapter 2541. Not only was the ancestral dragon being tortured to death by a lower-rank lord, but he was also in such a sorry state. He had never been tortured like this when he was a mount for the supreme heavenly venerables. However, seeing Su Fong's calm and unhurried appearance, ancestral Gregon knew that he had no choice but to admit defeat this time. His tone softened. "Stop. Hurry up and stop. I can give you treasures in exchange for my freedom." "Treasures?" Su Fong sneered disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, the ancestral demon blood plate the eternity chariot, the illusionary compass chariot, and other treasures all floated in front of him. The ancestral dragon was greedy by nature. He wanted to take any treasures for himself. What treasures had he not seen? However, when ancestral Gragon saw Su Fong take out so many magic treasures in one go, and there was no lack of famous creation divine artifacts and the origin divine mirror, he was dumbfounded. No matter how good the ancestral dragon's treasures were, could they compare to the origin holy mirror? Moreover, it was a precious treasure. What treasures could surpass it? He had to continue tormenting the ancestral dragon. Su Fong continued to activate the origin holy mirror and the beast token. He even increased their power, causing the ancestral dragon to fall into a state where he could neither live nor die. Another month passed. The ancestral dragon's internal organs were almost expelled from his body under the purification power of the origin holy mirror. His primordial spirit was also severely injured. With the ancestral dragon's strength, it would not have been a problem for him to hold on for thousands of years. The problem was that he had been sealed for countless years, and his primordial spirit and physical body had been fatally injured repeatedly. Even he could not bear it. However, the pride and unyielding spirit of the first divine dragon in the world made the ancestral dragon grit his teeth and hold on bitterly. This old loach is actually so stubborn. Su Fong also had a headache. It seemed that he could only activate the beast token and directly wipe out the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit. After thinking for a while, Su Fong stopped activating the beast token and origin holy mirror. He shouted coldly, "Ancestral dragon, I'll give you one last chance. I don't need you to serve me forever. You only need to serve me for 10 million years. After 10 million years, not only will I let you regain your freedom, but I'll also give you the beast token. Is that so?" Ancestral Gragon, who was originally dispirited, suddenly became spirited. Soon after, he mocked and ridiculed. Humans have always been cunning. How can this ancestor believe your words? If you don't admit it when the time comes and the beast tamer token is in your hands, what can this ancestor do to you? Don't talk to this ancestor about some heavenly Tao oath and the like. Even the life and death of an Empyrean is unknown. Swearing to the heavenly Tao is useless. Su Fong proudly said, "I, Su Fong, started as a mortal and cultivated to my current level, possessing the strength to kill supreme sovereigns. It's only been a little more than 300,000 years. 10 million years later, I will have long transcended this universe, and my strength will far surpass yours. By then, what use will I have for you? 10 million years of service is more than enough." Only then did ancestral Gragon carefully size up Su Fong. From Su Fong's aura, he found that what he said was true. He was immediately shocked. In the ancestral Gragon's eyes, a lower-rank lord was nothing at all. They were just slightly larger ants that he could spit to death with a yawn. However, to cultivate to the level of a lower-rank lord in just over 300,000 years, and to possess the strength to surpass a lord, or even an ordinary supreme, was something that even the ancestral Gragon had never heard of in his long life. This ancestor has misjudged you. You possess heaven-defying luck, and you're already halfway to transcendence. You only need to cultivate your physical body and inner universe to a level that surpasses supreme sovereigns to be able to transcend this universe. Extraordinary, you really are extraordinary. For someone like you, I'll trust you just this once. It's settled. 10 million years, and I won't acknowledge allegiance to you and become your slave. I'll be your Tao protector. Protector? Su Fong snickered internally. This ancestral Gragon was clearly forced to submit, but he was still so stubborn. A protector is a protector. However, I'll make this clear first. If you have any ulterior motives in these 10 million years, don't blame me, Su Fong, for being merciless. When the time comes, there will be no conditions to be negotiated. I'll kill you with the beast token, the ancestral Gragon said decisively. Humph. This ancestor is the ancestor of all divine dragons between heaven and earth. How can I go back on my word? Su Fong put away the Origin's sacred mirror and beast token. The ancestral Gragon burned with dragon energy, instantly sweeping away all the dirt and impurities on his body. Then, he transformed back into his human form. However, he no longer looked as majestic as before. Currently, his aura was weak, and his golden robe was covered in burn marks. He looked miserable. Su Fong put the ancestral Gragon back into his inner world. The ancestral Gragon was shocked when he saw the appearance of Su Fong's inner world. Only then did he realize that Su Fong was extraordinary, far beyond his expectations. Submitting to him did not seem too shameful. Whoosh, a ray of Su Fong's son's spirit appeared. Old Loach, how much strength can you still exert now? Call me Lord Ancestral Gragon. If you dare call me Old Loach again, I'll immediately become merciless, corrected the ancestral Gragon. Su Fong said, All right, I won't call you Old Loach. Old Dragon, how powerful are you now? Yes, Lord Ancestral Gragon. The ancestral Gragon let out a low roar, and then responded to Su Fong, It's not bad to have 1 out of 10 levels left. Su Fong was skeptical. When you first escaped, you were so majestic. Why are you so weak now? I originally had at least 30% of my strength left. Just now, you used the Beast Token and Origin Sacred Mirror to deal with me, causing my primordial spirit and physical body to be severely injured, especially the damage to my primordial spirit, which consumed 20% of my strength. You're so young, but you're so ruthless. The ancestral Gragon's anger had not subsided, and he responded angrily. Then the ancestral Gragon said, I was born with a strong physical body and an immortal body. It's very easy to recover, but it's extremely difficult to recover my primordial spirit. It's impossible for me to recover within these 10 million years. Don't blame me for not helping you when the time comes. This incomparably cunning ancestral Gragon actually intended to use this as an excuse to refuse to help Su Fong. Su Fong's mind moved, and a treasure bottle appeared in front of him. After the seal on the bottle was removed, a cold aura that made the primordial spirit suddenly glow with vitality floated out of the bottle. That's actually soul marrow milk. When I entered the 9 underworlds, I searched the entire netherworld and even had a fierce fight with the son of a celestial lord. I barely managed to get 3 drops. How did you, the little master god, get the soul marrow milk? The ancestral Gragon completely lost his arrogance and fell into a strong shock. Then his eyes stared straight at the treasure bottle. Quickly give it to me. As long as my primordial spirit recovers, I'll be able to use more than half of my strength. Humph! Old Dragon, don't forget your current status. It's not impossible to reward you with some soul marrow elixir. However, if you still don't understand your current situation and want to play tricks with me, not only will you not be able to get any reward, I will also absolutely not let you have a good time. Su Fong shouted domineeringly, and then his sharp eyes sized up the ancestral Gragon. The ancestral Gragon felt uncomfortable all over and said angrily, Boy, what are you trying to do? Su Fong intended to draw some blood from the ancestral Gragon. That was a supreme treasure for cultivating a perfect physical body. However, looking at the ancestral Gragon's dispirited appearance, Su Fong temporarily dismissed the idea. He would wait until the ancestral Gragon recovered a little. After giving the ancestral Gragon 3 drops of soul marrow milk, the young spirit took the treasure bottle and left in embarrassment. The ancestral Gragon snorted. 3 drops of soul marrow milk. This boy is really generous. However, if you want to make me your slave, this is far from enough. Su Fong was overjoyed to finally subdue the ancestral Gragon. Next, as long as he could rescue Shu Wanjin, this trip to the Advent God Palace would not be in vain. However, the ancestral Gragon was cunning. If he wanted to truly make it submit, it would be impossible without powerful strength. Su Fong did not intend to make it completely submit. He only needed to let it take action at the crucial moment. The ancestral Gragon's current strength was naturally not 1/10 of what it said, but rather, it was holding back. Su Fong was too lazy to expose it. When it was time for him to do his part, if he was lazy and unwilling to do his part, he would take care of it when the time came. Next, Su Fong did not delay any longer and went straight to the second level of the Advent God Palace. QL11, after traversing through vast distances and passing through countless restrictions and chaotic zones, Su Fong arrived outside the towering palace walls of the second level in about 3 years. Unlike the outermost palace walls, the palace walls of the second level did not have any defensive restrictions. They only isolated the space. Su Fong stretched out his right hand and pressed it against the palace wall, injecting his dermic powers and energy into it. The solid palace wall immediately transformed into an illusory light screen. Su Fong flashed through it as though he had entered a lake. Having just entered the second level, Su Fong did not have time to observe the interior. Suddenly, a rune talisman in his body stirred. He took out the rune talisman and immediately heard Goddess Luo's anxious voice. Su Fong, where are you? Come and save me. Hold on for a moment. I'll be there in an instant. Su Fong was shocked. He did not expect Goddess Luo to be in danger. After ascertaining Goddess Luo's current location, Su Fong immediately used a supreme ability that transcended heaven and earth. In a flash, he passed through obstacles and teleported to the periphery of a dilapidated palace. Outside the palace, there was a burning flame barrier. It should have been formed by an expert activating a Dharma treasure. Its defensive power was extraordinary. At this moment, there were 5 deities who were madly attacking the barrier, causing the barrier formed by the flames to tremble uncontrollably. However, they were unable to break through the barrier in a short period of time. The one attacking the palace was Yi Tianyang. The rest were all overgod experts. They were using their Dharma seals and activating their Dharma treasures to attack the flame barrier. Su Fong's figure appeared near Yi Tianyang and the rest, but they did not notice. After using the life-shrinking technique, he immediately sensed that Goddess Luo was in the palace. Apart from her chaotic aura, she did not seem to be injured. They are together? To Su Fong's surprise, there were 2 other auras in the palace. One of the auras came from an upper-rank Lord-level powerhouse. He clearly had the life aura of the fire god Zhu clan. It was he who was constantly activating a fiery red ring Dharma treasure to release the extraordinary barrier that prevented the palace from being breached. Meanwhile, the other aura was very ordinary. It was a peak godly emperor cultivator. However, this person was related to Su Fong. He was the in-name disciple that Su Fong had taken in the great world, Zhu Yan. He had no idea what had happened for Goddess Luo to be with the fire god Zhu clan and be attacked by Yi Tianyang. Su Fong's heart was filled with ferocity. Yi Tianyang. Oh, Yi Tianyang. I spared your life when we were in Yuan Tiangong's imperial city back then because you were the successor of the Sun God clan. Who knew that you would be so reckless as to hunt down my woman? Don't blame me, Su Fong, for being merciless. Chapter 2542. What happened? Su Fong saw that the barrier was safe for now and was not in a hurry to attack. He used his supreme essence soul to activate the runic talisman, injecting his dermic powers and essence soul into it as he asked Goddess Luo. Su Fong, you are here? That's great. Goddess Luo's trembling voice came from the runic talisman. She was clearly surprised and relieved. So, after Goddess Luo entered the Advent God Palace from the periphery, she directly entered the second level of the Advent God Palace. In the second level, Goddess Luo absorbed the high-level energy aura from beyond the heavens to cultivate. She did not expect to encounter a cultivator's corpse and found a token in the corpse's storage ring. Using the token's aura, Goddess Luo found a dilapidated mystic realm. This mystic realm was already dilapidated and only ruins remained. However, there were many restrictions. It looked like it was a herb garden in the Advent God Palace that was used to grow herbs. Although the herb garden was dilapidated, there were definitely some precious herbs left in it. Furthermore, the token was the key to entering the herb garden. Herb garden, ancestral Gragon, spoke from his inner world. The Advent God Palace you speak of is actually a palace on the celestial Worthy Mountain. The first level is used to shackle me, while the second level has the herb garden and the treasure refinement hall. Although the herb garden is dilapidated, the herbs planted inside are rather extraordinary. Kid, don't miss this opportunity. Su Fong was pleasantly surprised. Old dragon, you are so familiar with the Advent God Palace? Tell me in detail about the situation inside the Advent God Palace. Ancestral Gragon snorted. I've just suffered a huge blow to my Yuan Qi. I'm not in the mood to talk. It looked like there was still a long way to go before he could train Ancestral Gragon to be obedient. Goddess Luo planned to enter the herb garden to search for treasures, but she did not expect to encounter Yi Tianyang. Faced with the temptation of treasures, Yi Tianyang did not have any woman in his eyes. He did not care about anything else and wanted to snatch Goddess Luo's token. Thankfully, Yi Tianyang knew of Goddess Luo's identity and knew that she had Su Fong and Patriarch Luo backing her. He did not dare to kill Goddess Luo and only wanted to snatch the token. Otherwise, Goddess Luo would have been killed by him. Goddess Luo had fled all the way here and met Zhu Yin and his master. Zhu Yin recognized Goddess Luo's identity and knew that she had an extraordinary relationship with Su Fong, so he begged his master to save him. That was why they were in a stalemate until now. At this moment, Yi Tianyang shouted at the broken palace, "Goddess Luo, I'm going easy on you because of Patriarch Luo. Just hand over the token, and I won't make things difficult for you." There was a moment of silence within the palace. Yi Tianyang said in a deep voice, "Since you refuse to hand over the token, then don't blame me, Yi Tianyang, for being impolite." Zhu Yan's angry roar came from the palace. "Yi Tianyang, my clan's supreme sovereign and her master, Sovereign Jinyang, are working together to search for treasures, but you attacked us. When my clan's supreme sovereign finds out, he will not let you off." Su Fong was stunned. The fire god Zhu clan's emperor and Truyang emperor are working together to hunt for treasures? That treasure must be extraordinary. Yi Tianyang said domineeringly, "I want Goddess Luo's token. Your fire god Zhu clan has interfered. Even Sovereign Zhu has to give me an explanation." Zhu Yin shouted, "You dare to steal my master's treasure? Aren't you afraid of my master, Su Fong?" Yi Tianyang's expression changed instantly. "You're Su Fong's disciple? When did Goddess Luo become Su Fong's Dao companion?" The four experts who were attacking the barrier also trembled and quickly stopped attacking. An elder trembled and said to Yi Tianyang, "Young Master Tianyang, since Su Fong is involved, let's forget about it this time." The other experts also showed fear on their faces. In that herb garden, there are spirit herbs left behind by the heavenly venerables. Moreover, this is the Advent Palace. No one will know if we kill someone. An elder with white hair and a youthful face snorted. His eyes flashed with ruthlessness. This elder with white hair was the one who tried to steal Su Fong's cauldron lid magic treasure outside the Advent Palace. This person was obviously a ruthless person. He actually planned to silence everyone. Yi Tianyang's eyes flashed. After thinking for a moment, he shouted at the palace, "Goddess Luo, since you're not willing to hand over the token, don't blame me for being ruthless. If there's any mishap, don't blame me." Immediately after, Yi Tianyang struck out a shocking seal and a dazzling sun appeared, illuminating more than half of the second level of the God of Advent Palace. The sun crashed onto the fire enchantment outside the palace. Rumble. The divine sun landed outside the palace, causing an earth-shattering explosion. The powerful enchantment lasted for a moment in the explosion before it immediately shattered, and the already dilapidated palace collapsed along with it. "Goddess Luo, this is related to the treasure. I have no choice but to offend you." Yi Tianyang laughed complacently. Together with the other four experts, he displayed his power and was about to kill Goddess Luo, Zhu Yin, and the expert from the Zhu clan. QL11, suddenly, a voice filled with murderous intent came from the void. "You dare to touch my woman? Yi Tianyang, who gave you the guts?" Yi Tianyang was stunned as if he was struck by lightning. The other four experts did not understand. They shouted angrily, "Where did you come from? You're courting death." Su Fong walked out of the void and looked at Yi Tianyang coldly. Back in the Imperial people, I spared your life, but you didn't know what's good for you. Do you think that I, Su Fong, don't dare to kill you? Su Fong. The faces of the four experts instantly turned pale, and their bodies began to tremble. Seeing Su Fong appear, Zhu Yin shouted excitedly, "Master is here. Master's wife is saved." Goddess Luo's face turned red. She scolded, "Don't talk nonsense. Who's your master's wife?" "I'm from the same sect as Ash Flame Sea. I didn't know that Goddess Luo is Su Fong's Dao partner. I hope you can forgive me this time, for Ash Flame Sea's sake." One of the white-haired elders had the height of an upper-rank lord. He claimed to be from the same sect as Ash Flame Sea and begged Su Fong humbly. "How could you forget about Su Fong when you were killing people for their treasures?" Su Fong's murderous intent was fierce. Chi, the god-slaying saber, released a white saber-gleam galaxy and cut the white-haired elder in half. At that moment, the ancestral Graygon spoke in his inner world. "How can you kill such good food for nothing? You can give it to me to recover." Everyone else turned pale with fright, including Yi Tianyang. One after another, they fled. Boom! The divine power of the Yin-Yang world surged out of Su Fong's body and turned into a universe in an instant, enveloping Yi Tianyang and the others. The world that Su Fong created with the divine power of the Yin-Yang world was like a universe of the same height as nature. Even venerable sovereigns would find it difficult to break it, let alone these lords. Yi Tianyang was shackled and could not move. He was terrified and started to beg for mercy. "Su Fong, I'm a successor of the Solar God tribe. My master, Lord Tru Yang, is also a supreme venerable sovereign. Let me go this time, and I won't offend you again." Su Fong was like the embodiment of the heavenly Tao that ruled over the life and death of all things. He said majestically, "I gave you a chance in the past, but you didn't cherish it. It's not just you. Your master, Lord Tru Yang, joined forces with Emperor Qi to deal with me. I haven't settled the score with him yet. Now that I'm in the Advent Palace, I can settle the score with him." Rumble. Su Fong retracted the divine power of the world. Together with Yi Tianyang and the others, they were all sucked into the universe within his body. Yi Tianyang and the others still tried to resist. However, in the universe within Su Fong's body, they were facing the ancestral Graygon. There was no room for them to struggle. The ancestral Graygon, who had been waiting impatiently, opened his mouth and sucked the four cultivators directly into his stomach. The ancestral Graygon patted his belly. "Too weak. You're not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Boy, help me catch some more venerable sovereigns." "Do you think venerable sovereigns are cabbages on the street? Don't forget that I'm your master. How can a master work for a slave?" Su Fong reprimanded and ignored the old loach. Su Fong came to the ruins of the palace. Goddess Luo said, "You've saved me again." Su Fong smiled and nodded. "There's no need to be so polite between you and me." "Greetings, master." Zhu Yin knelt on the ground and kowtowed respectfully. If not for Su Fong, Zhu Yin would still be in the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons in the outside world. He might have died in the upheaval. How could he have achieved what he had now? It was also because of Su Fong that Zhu Yin was highly valued by the Fire God Zhu clan. Even the venerable sovereigns of the Fire God Zhu clan would ask him questions from time to time. They even appointed one of the clan's experts to be his master. How could Zhu Yin not be grateful for such a great kindness? Su Fong looked at Zhu Yin. "You're very good. It wasn't in vain for me to teach you cultivation methods and divine powers in the outside world and bring you to the myriad worlds." Zhu Yin said, "Master treats me like a parent." Zhu Yin will never forget that. Now that Master's wife is in danger, if I didn't step forward, wouldn't I be worse than an animal? Goddess Luo wanted to explain, but she gave up after thinking about it. No one would believe her anyway. Su Fong then asked, "How is your mother?" Brahma Monarch brought the heaven-crossing sect from the outside world to the myriad worlds. Zhu Yan's mother, Madame Zhu, naturally followed him to the myriad worlds and was brought to the fire god Zhu clan by Zhu Yan. Zhu Yan answered, Mother has become a true god with the help of the clan. She's doing very well. She also misses Master very much. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fong in surprise. Her gaze was a little strange. She then asked faintly, Zhu Yin, your mother must be as beautiful as a flower, right? Zhu Yin answered honestly, Master's wife, my mother was also the #1 beauty in the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons in the outside world. Cough, cough, cough. Su Fong realized that Zhu Yan's words could be easily misunderstood. He coughed dryly and quickly changed the topic. He asked about Zhu Yan's cultivation. Su Fong then condensed an energy seed with the power of the 9 suns and gave it to Zhu Yan to cultivate. With this energy seed, Zhu Yan would have no problem cultivating all the way to the peak hierarch realm. He then gave Zhu Yan a fire-attributed artifact. Its quality was at the level of a half-creation divine artifact. At the same time, he also gave Zhu Yan 10,000 creation saint pills. Zhu Yan was surprised and happy. He kowtowed to Su Fong again and again. Zhu Yan's master finally had the chance to meet Su Fong. Being able to meet a legendary figure made him very excited. Su Fong gave him a half-creation divine artifact, 10,000 creation saint pills, and 3 heaven-responding pills. If he didn't help this time, Goddess Luo would be in danger. These resources were nothing to Su Fong, but to this person, it was quite generous. It was considered his reward. Chapter 2543. It turned out that Emperor Tru Yang had not only invited Brahma Monarch, but also Emperor Zhu from the Fire God Zhu clan and another venerable emperor. Even Heavenly Treasure, who was taken in by Emperor Only Dao, had joined in to obtain a precious treasure from the Advent Divine Palace. As for what precious treasure it was, and how Emperor Tru Yang knew there was a treasure in the Advent Divine Palace, Zhu Yin and his master did not know. Su Fong did not pay much attention to it either. At this moment, other than a treasure that surpassed a destinable divine artifact, he was not interested in anything else. Zhu Yin followed the experts from the Zhu clan into the Advent Divine Palace for 2 reasons. One was to train with his master, and the other was to find the prodigy from the Fire God Zhu clan, Zhu Fengtian, who had died in the Advent Divine Palace. The supreme fire-type divine ability, Illusory Fire Cloud, was created by Zhu Fengtian himself. Xu Wanjin obtained it and passed it on to Su Fong later on. Su Fong encouraged Zhu Yin and asked him to send his regards to Madame Zhu. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fong with a strange expression. Then, Su Fong and Goddess Luo went straight to the Ur Garden. Even the ancestral Graygon said that there were extraordinary spiritual herbs in the Herb Garden. Su Fong naturally would not miss it. Of course, this was Goddess Luo's fortune, and he would not covet it. The second level of the Advent Divine Palace was much smaller than the first level. However, it was even more deathly silent. Yellow clouds condensed from energy from beyond the heavens floated everywhere. High-grade energy aura filled every corner of the space, causing all life in the space to die. The mountain range was bare, and most of the buildings had collapsed. Everywhere was filled with a desolate and deathly still aura. Su Fong and Goddess Luo could both absorb the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens, and the effects of their cultivation far exceeded that of the outside world. However, that was only in comparison. At their level of cultivation, they cultivated their own world and universe. The amount of energy required was immense. With the help of the high-grade energy here, they would need tens of thousands or even millions of years to advance by one level. After passing through a very long area shrouded in yellow clouds, they continuously shuttled through yellow clouds and mist. Then they flew over many huge mountains and finally arrived at a valley. It's here! Goddess Luo looked into the depths of the valley as her eyes flickered with excitement and anticipation. This valley was very vast, but an incomparably powerful force had severed the mountain ranges on both sides, leaving only a valley that was less than 50 kilometers in size. The other half was a spatial rift. The valley was shrouded in white clouds. Su Fong used his great perfection ability and could see that the so-called clouds were actually a powerful formation formed by interweaving seals. Not only was the array vast, but it also had an amazing defensive ability. Su Fong estimated that with his current strength, it would be difficult for him to pass through the array without using his ability to transcend heaven and earth. Moreover, it was useless to enter the valley. No one knew if there were more powerful restrictions inside the formation. The herb garden of a supreme heavenly venerate was not an ordinary vegetable garden. Any restriction inside could kill a supreme heavenly venerate. It was no wonder that Goddess Luo did not dare to barge in, even though she had the fortune divine treasure, the piercing sun golden rainbow. Instead, she had to rely on a token. This medallion will release a protective aura when activated, but it only covers an area of 3 meters, barely enough for the two of us to enter together. Don't leave the range of the protective aura. Goddess Luo warned Su Fong carefully again before activating the medallion. The palm-sized golden medallion immediately floated above Goddess Luo's head and shone with a faint golden divine light. It condensed into a halo that was 3 meters in diameter and released a protective aura that enveloped Su Fong and Goddess Luo. Su Fong and Goddess Luo flew into the valley side by side. When the clouds touched the divine aura released by the medallion, it immediately caused the surroundings to tumble. The array also automatically separated, creating a path. Seeing that the medallion was indeed useful, Su Fong heaved a sigh of relief. However, he did not dare to be careless. Who knew what dangers there were inside the valley? He circulated the power of 9 yang in his body, ready to attack at any moment. Goddess Luo flew beside him. Feeling his pure yang aura, she could not help but breathe rapidly. Her flawless face flushed red, and she almost lost herself in this aura that no woman could resist. After flying for 5 minutes, the two of them arrived inside the valley. Only then did Goddess Luo put away the medallion. She looked over. The interior of the valley was 50 miles wide, and the scenery was unobstructed. What disappointed Su Fong and Goddess Luo was that the valley was indeed a herb garden. However, all they saw were withered spirit herbs and divine trees. It was a dilapidated and desolate scene. There was not a single living spirit herb. This was indeed a herb garden, but the spirit chi had been devoured by the high-grade energy aura from beyond the heavens. Even all life had been devoured. How could there be any spirit herbs waiting for them? Let's look again. Su Fong was still unwilling to give up. He went deep into the herb garden with Goddess Luo, hoping to find something useful. When they came to a collapsed stone house, the two of them finally found something. This stone house was clearly created by the strong practitioner who guarded the herb garden in the past. It had collapsed under the corrosion of the high-grade energy. In the ruins, there were 2 golden Taoist robes with celestial, worthy mountain divine inscriptions on them. They were probably left behind after the strong practitioner who guarded the herb garden died, and his corpse was devoured by the high-grade energy. From the Taoist robes, one could tell that it was a man and a woman. They might even be a pair of Tao companions. There were 2 storage rings on the Taoist robes, but Su Fong and Goddess Luo's attention was not on the storage rings. Instead, they stared intently at a plant that grew out of the ruins. This plant should be the only living life in the herb garden. It emitted a majestic life aura and wood elemental essence aura. Furthermore, this aura transcended nature. It was a high-grade energy aura. The plant looked extremely strange. It looked like a fleshy green stem that was as thick as a wash basin. Upon closer inspection, this green stem looked like it was formed by a man and a woman hugging each other. It was very lifelike, as though the two of them were hugging each other and having intercourse. It made Goddess Luo blush. There was a bowl-sized flower at the top. It was red and white, extremely gorgeous, and had a pungent fragrance. What evil thing is this? Goddess Luo looked away and said with a blushing face. Su Fong was also very surprised. He had never seen such a strange plant before. Therefore, he used his divine prowess to let the golden rainbow monarch see the plant. He did not expect the knowledgeable golden rainbow monarch to also be confused. This abandoned herb garden can actually grow such a spiritual item of heaven and earth. What a treasure, what a treasure. Ancestral Gragon suddenly spoke from his inner world. With his strength, he could easily see everything outside, even if he was in Su Fong's inner world. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to Ancestral Gragon. Old Dragon, you know this strange thing? Ancestral Gragon appeared very excited. I know it, but I have never seen it before. In the past, when I was roaming the outer world with the heavenly venerables, I heard an outer world expert mention it once. I originally thought that this thing only existed in legends. I did not expect it to appear here. Fortune, it is truly fortune. Even Ancestral Gragon said it was a treasure. Naturally, it was not an ordinary item. Su Fong quickly asked, "What spiritual item is this? It is so strange." "Yin Yang Harmonious Flower." "Yin Yang Harmonious Flower? What kind of thing is this?" Ancestral Gragon patiently explained to Su Fong. Back then, I don't know why the Heavenly Venerables went crazy. They forcefully separated this palace from the Heavenly Venerables mountain and left it wandering in the myriad of worlds. Due to the impact of the Heavenly Venerables' power, all the experts in the palace fell. Only this Ancestral Gragon, who was sealed and possessed supreme strength, was able to escape. The man and woman who guarded the herb garden for the Heavenly Venerables both possessed the strength of a Heavenly Venerables. Although they were somewhat extraordinary, they still could not escape death. The two of them were Taoist companions when they were alive. Their life aura, energy, and yin and yang in their inner worlds attracted each other. In addition, they absorbed the high-grade energy from the outer world and underwent mutation. As a result, they formed this stalk of yin-yang harmonious flower that is rarely seen in the outer world. It was not strange for cultivators to turn into spiritual items after death. For example, the flower of immortality in the outside world was formed by immortals after they fell and absorbed the energy of heaven and earth. However, this yin-yang harmonious flower was indeed strange. Not only did it require the corpses of a pair of Taoist companions to form, but it also needed to absorb the high-grade energy from the outer world. Moreover, its appearance was indeed strange, since it was formed by the corpses of two supreme heavenly venerables absorbing the high-grade energy. This stalk of yin-yang harmonious flower must be comparable to a spiritual item from the outer world, surpassing the creation spiritual items born in this world. Looking at the yin-yang harmonious flower, Su Fong's eyes became scorching hot. Apparently, Goddess Luo misunderstood. She blushed and said, "Su Fong, I didn't expect you to be such a person. What kind of person am I?" Su Fong was stunned. Then, he saw the yin-yang harmonious flower that looked like a man and a woman's intercourse. He was enlightened and could not help but chuckle. He asked Ancestral Gragon, "Old Dragon, what is the use of this yin-yang harmonious flower? Like other spiritual items, can it be swallowed directly?" Ancestral Gragon answered, "Fortunately, this Ancestral Gragon has heard of it before. Otherwise, if I recklessly swallowed the yin-yang harmonious flower, I would definitely die." "What? Only after the yin-yang harmonious flower matures and bears fruit can one consume the fruit to cultivate. It is said that it can allow a cultivator's divine body and the world's yin and yang to fuse, rapidly increasing one's cultivation realm. However, after consuming the fruit of the yin-yang harmonious flower, one must cultivate both yin and yang for it to be effective. Otherwise, it will be harmful. It will cause an imbalance between yin and yang, and one will become a monster that is neither male nor female." When Su Fong thought of Yin Buji, who was neither male nor female, a chill ran down his spine. If he really became such a monster, Su Fong could not help but shudder at the thought. Glancing at Goddess Luo, a strange look flashed across Su Fong's eyes. It turned out that Yin Buji was planning to cultivate both yin and yang with Goddess Luo to consume the yin-yang harmonious flower. That would be greatly beneficial to both of them. Perhaps he could break through to middle-rank Lord level with the help of the yin-yang harmonious flower. Goddess Luo might also be able to advance to Lord level. Goddess Luo thought that Su Fong had some dirty thoughts after seeing the yin-yang harmonious flower. She glared at Su Fong fiercely. Her face was so red that it looked like blood was about to seep out. However, there was a flirtatious charm to her that made Su Fong's heartbeat accelerate. A gust of yang energy exploded within him. Fortunately, he did not have a nosebleed. Otherwise, he would have embarrassed himself. However, Ancestral Graygon immediately poured a bucket of cold water on Su Fong. Kid, don't be happy too early. This yin-yang harmonious flower needs at least 100,000 years to bear fruit. You can't possibly wait here for 100,000 years, right? Su Fong immediately snapped out his daze. Wait for 100,000 years. Of course, that was impossible. After 100,000 years, who knew what would happen? How could he possibly wait here with Goddess Luo for the yin-yang harmonious flower to bear fruit? He pondered for a moment. Chapter 2544. Ancestral Dragon asked in astonishment, Brat, don't tell me you have a way to accelerate the ripening of this yin-yang amalgamation flower? Then he began to lecture Su Fong. There are many ways to accelerate the ripening of spiritual objects in the universe, but this yin-yang amalgamation flower isn't an ordinary spiritual object. It contains the essence of energy from beyond the heavens. Unless you use spiritual water from beyond the heavens to accelerate its ripening, it's impossible to make it bear fruit so quickly. Do you think this yin-yang amalgamation flower is some wild grass or tree that can be made to ripen with spiritual water? Su Fong chuckled and replied, Old dragon, although I don't have any spiritual water from beyond the heavens, I have a supreme treasure that can control time. No matter how extraordinary this yin-yang amalgamation flower is, it grows in this universe, so it has to obey the laws of time here, right? Ancestral Dragon immediately reacted. The Infinity Chariot. How could this ancestor forget about this supreme treasure? By activating the Infinity Chariot and accelerating the flow of time, this method can indeed accelerate the ripening of the yin-yang amalgamation flower. I'm afraid that with your current cultivation, you won't be able to activate much of the Infinity Chariot's power, so the effect on the yin-yang amalgamation flower is limited. Old Dragon, you don't need to worry about this. The Infinity Chariot was the most powerful time treasure in this universe, a creation artifact. It had the supreme power to stop time, accelerate time, and reverse time. With Su Fong's current strength, activating the Infinity Chariot and increasing the flow of time on the yin-yang amalgamation flower was enough to let it quickly pass through 100,000 years and accelerate its ripening. Then, Su Fong took out the Infinity Chariot and erupted with the power of time acceleration, enveloping the yin-yang amalgamation flower. Within the range of the Infinity Chariot's power, time accelerated at an astonishing speed, tens of thousands of times faster than the flow of time in the real world. Under such an astonishing power of time, the yin-yang amalgamation flower grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. The surrounding ruins and substances were also rapidly decaying. Chi. Days passed in the outside world. The yin-yang amalgamation flower within the Infinity Chariot's power was frantically changing. From its blooming state, it quickly produced a red and white fruit. At first, it was only the size of a walnut, but with the passage of time, it quickly grew to the size of a fist. The white fruit, with a hint of red, emitted a tempting fragrance and a majestic and transcendent aura of life, as well as a high-grade wood essence from beyond the heavens. The yin-yang amalgamation flower stem was rapidly withered. The Infinity Chariot's power. Slap! The fruit fell. The yin-yang amadion flower's power. Su Fong wiped the sweat off his forehead. He then put away the Infinity Chariot and swept the yin-yang combination and Huagua reality into his hand with his divine might. The Infinity Fangenganga, Dragon and use Imation Flower, Infinity Fong, Dragon to Flower T's Ancestral Graygon was shocked. He praised Su Fong Da and urged Su Fong. Su Fong suddenly asked, Old Dragon, is the yin-yang amalgamation flower and fruit really as you said? After devouring them, one's cultivation will increase rapidly? Su Fong wasn't too sure about the Ancestral Graygon. His words made Su Fong somewhat hesitant. The ancestral Gragon snorted. Do you think I'll lie to you? It's up to you to believe it or not. By the way, I'll remind you that after the yin-yang amalgamation flower matures, you must quickly devour it. Otherwise, the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens will quickly disappear and become useless. I'll believe you this time. Su Fong was somewhat doubtful. However, he couldn't think of any other way to confirm it. He could only trust the ancestral Gragon this time. Besides, with the beast-taming tablet in hand, Su Fong wasn't afraid of the ancestral Gragon's tricks. Su Fong told Goddess Luo about the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit's effects, as well as the method of devouring the fruit and cultivating it. Yin-yang amalgamation flower? Goddess Luo didn't reject it. Yin-yang amalgamation flower wasn't sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. It was the fusion of divine essence and essence soul. It was very common in the myriad of worlds. However, cultivators who cultivated yin-yang amalgamation flower were usually Tao companions. Although Goddess Luo's memories and karmic connection with Su Fong had been wiped away by ancestor Luo, there were still faint remnants of her past feelings in her heart. In addition, Su Fong had saved her time and time again. She didn't reject yin-yang amalgamation flower with Su Fong. Instead, she was looking forward to it. Immediately, the two of them sat facing each other. Then, Su Fong used his divine might to float the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit between the two of them. Let's release our powers at the same time to fuse the yin-yang amalgamation flower and fruit. Then, we'll use our powers to cultivate yin-yang amalgamation flower. Su Fong transmitted his voice to Goddess Luo. Goddess Luo nodded in agreement. Then, Su Fong used the power of the Nine Yang. At the same time, he absorbed the cold air from the primordial chaos sacred mirror to form the power of yin and yang. Then, he separated his palms and released the power of yin and yang. At the same time, Goddess Luo also used the power. Together with Su Fong's power of yin and yang, they enveloped the yin-yang amalgamation flower and fruit. Their powers fused and then began to fuse with the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit. Sizzle. Under the fusion of their powers, the fruit quickly melted like ice, turning into a red and white mist that fused with their powers. It formed a mist vortex that spiraled around the fruit. Next, Su Fong absorbed the aura that fused with Goddess Luo's power and the fruit's essence into his body. After passing through the world tree and yang meridian, he took away a large amount of yin and yang world power and nine yang power. The power swept through Su Fong's flesh, blood, bones, and meridians. It circulated in his body before being sent out of his body and into the vortex around the fruit. Goddess Luo used the same method to circulate her power. As a result, a cycle was formed. The two entered a state of yin and yang dual cultivation. Ancestral Gragon, who was in Su Fong's body, stared at the scene outside without blinking. His deep eyes were filled with pride and viciousness. You're merely a lower rank lord. Do you think you can control me with just a beast token? I only need to use a little trick to make you fall into a trap. Wait until I get the beast token. As it turned out, Ancestral Gragon kept instigating Su Fong to use the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit to cultivate yin and yang with Goddess Luo. He was up to no good. He had set up a huge trap for Su Fong and then tried to take the beast token from Su Fong's body. Su Fong and Goddess Luo were immersed in yin and yang dual cultivation. After 3 months, they finally fused all the fruits. The energy in the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit was boundless. Moreover, it was a high-level life aura and with elemental essence that surpassed this universe. After being devoured by Su Fong and Goddess Luo, shocking energy immediately surged in their bodies. The two of them immediately stopped their yin and yang dual cultivation. Su Fong hurriedly said, "Quickly fuse my energy with the high-level energy in the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit. Try your best to break through to become a lord, and I'll break through to become a middle-rank lord." Okay. After ending her yin and yang dual cultivation with Su Fong, Goddess Luo inexplicably felt a faint sense of regret in her heart. Su Fong activated the 9 yang, 9 changes, and began to absorb Goddess Luo's energy. It was mainly the high-level energy contained in the yin-yang amalgamation flower. Then, it surged into the Tree of World through the yang meridian, forming a circulatory cycle in his body. Suddenly, while Su Fong was cultivating, a strange energy suddenly erupted in the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace. It stirred up the yang energy and yin and yang energy in his body, causing them to surge uncontrollably in his body. At the same time, an instinctive desire surged out from the depths of his body, causing waves of yang energy to explode in his body. Su Fong's will and Taoist heart were instantly blinded. He only had one thought, and that was to release the crazy desire in his heart. Bam! Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes. His pupils had turned crimson red, and his breathing had become rapid. At this moment, Su Fong looked like a ferocious beast whose primitive instincts had been ignited. Goddess Luo was not much better. Layers of redness spread from her neck to her entire body. Her snow-white skin had turned crimson red, and she looked like an incomparably beautiful flower bud that was blooming. Her entire body trembled uncontrollably. Her eyes burned with crazed desire as she looked at Su Fong. Between the two of them, there was no wariness like between a man and a woman to begin with. At this moment, it was like dry wood meeting a raging fire. When they came together, sparks immediately ignited. In this abandoned herb garden, their rapid breathing continued to reverberate. Their energy, aura, and even primordial spirits were simultaneously fusing with yin and yang. Moreover, as they fused, they continuously fused with the yin-yang amalgamation flower's fruit's energy, causing their physical bodies, life force, magic power, and inner worlds to unknowingly undergo a metamorphosis. At this moment, the two of them forgot everything. They forgot all the rules and restrictions. They completely fell into madness. In a trance, the two of them seemed to have returned to the time when their memories and destinies had not been erased. They had returned to the illusory world of the disillusionment heart-killing mirror. Boy, you are too stupid. Not only does the yin-yang amalgamation flower contain powerful high-level energy, but it also contains the power to fuse the yin and yang of men and women. Not to mention you. Even transcendents would find it difficult to control this power after devouring the fruit of the yin-yang amalgamation flower. I will let you enjoy the bliss of the mortal world first. When I find the beast tamer token, it will be the time of your death. In Su Fong's inner world, the ancestral Gragon was very proud. A lifelike golden dragon image jumped out of his pupils. In a flash, it left Su Fong's inner world universe and entered Su Fong's physical body. After a fruitless search, the golden dragon image entered Su Fong's divine aperture again. Su Fong's vast magic power ocean was currently in silence. The Yang god sat cross-legged above the magic power ocean. As if he was drunk, his entire body was red and he looked dazed. Wait and see how I will deal with you later. The golden dragon image smiled coldly. Without disturbing Su Fong's Yang god, it flew to the deepest part of the divine aperture. As expected, in the deepest part of the divine aperture, a black wooden token floated there. It was the Beast Tamer token. Floating together with the Beast Tamer token was a black round plate. It was Su Fong's ancestral demon blood plate. As long as I get the Beast Tamer token, in this universe, who can restrain me? At that time, I will dominate this universe, just like the heavenly Lord of creation. I will dominate all worlds and all living things. I will make heaven and earth submit to me. Chapter 2545. Su Fong was in a frenzied state of body fusion. Who would have thought that a fatal danger was about to befall him? Beast token, you finally got it. The ancestral dragon primordial spirit grinned and grabbed at the beast token. However, at this moment, a dark demonic light burst out from the ancestral demon blood plate and enveloped the ancestral dragon primordial spirit. Boom, boom, boom. The ancestral dragon felt as if he had fallen into a vast ocean. Under the impact of the terrifying waves, his primordial spirit was like a leaf drifting with the waves and was instantly torn apart. It turned out that it was Su Fang's second primordial spirit that resided in the ancestral demon blood plate. Su Fang's primordial spirit consciousness was affected by the combination of yin-yang and the fruit of the flower and was completely controlled by his instincts. However, the second primordial spirit was not affected. Although the second primordial spirit originated from the original body, it was an independent primordial spirit body. Unless it was a divine ability that was connected to Su Fang's fate, the second primordial spirit would still exist alone even if the original body fell. The ancestral dragon thought that Su Fang was being controlled by lust and took the opportunity to snatch the beast token. Who would have thought that Su Fang had a second primordial spirit? Caught off guard, Su Fang's second primordial spirit suddenly activated the ancestral demon blood plate and burst out a wave of primordial spirit divine power that wiped out the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit. Impossible! Su Fang has already been affected by the yin-yang amalgamation flower and lost his consciousness. How can he activate the ancestral demon blood plate? In Su Fang's inner world, the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit was wiped out. Although it did not affect him much, it was still unexpected and shocking. It was just an accident. This time, even if there's an expert's primordial spirit hiding in that kid's divine aperture and activating the ancestral demon blood plate, I will still wipe him out and get the beast token. The ancestral dragon was furious. He peeled off another primordial spirit and went straight to Su Fang's inner world. No matter who you are, you can't stop me from getting the beast token. I advise you to stay in the ancestral demon blood plate obediently. Otherwise, I will burn you alive with dragon flames. The ancestral dragon primordial spirit didn't act rashly this time. Instead, it yelled at the ancestral demon blood plate. Who would have thought that what responded to him was a terrifying primordial spirit divine might that shot out from the ancestor fiend blood plate? But this time, the ancestral Gragon was prepared. Raging flames burned around his primordial spirit. He wanted to get the beast token no matter what. The ancestral Gragon had been sealed for so many years and had been tortured by Su Fang's beast token. His primordial spirit had been severely damaged. 3 drops of soul marrow elixir had only restored about 50 to 60% of his primordial spirit. Otherwise, with ancestral Gragon's supreme strength, even if he was in Su Fang's divine aperture, he could easily destroy Su Fang's divine aperture. At this moment, it was also helpless. Regardless of anything else, as long as it got the beast token, it could easily kill the next 10 Su Fang. Although I've temporarily lost my primordial spirit consciousness, how can I allow an old loach like you to be arrogant in my spiritual world? His second soul shot out from the ancestral fiend blood plate with a swish. His cold voice was filled with supreme dominance and killing intent. You? How can you not be affected? No, you're not that brat's original body, but his second primordial spirit. Terrifying, truly terrifying. That brat has actually cultivated a second primordial spirit. But so what? If I want something, who can stop me other than a celestial venerable? You're just a puny second primordial spirit. I can crush you like crushing an ant. The ancestral Gragon was not an ordinary big goblin with a strong physical body, but a weak primordial spirit. Not only did he have a near-immortal physical body, but his primordial spirit was also extremely powerful. Moreover, he already had the strength to transcend this world. Why would he care about the second primordial spirit? Roar! The ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit opened its mouth and let out a dragon roar. With an aura that could shatter everything, it shook Su Fang's divine aperture and set off a turbulent sea of magic power that swept toward the second primordial spirit. Soul-shattering thunderous roar. Primordial spirit spear. Godly sucking soul seal. Although the primordial spirit power of the second primordial spirit was not at the level of a transcendent being, it had mastered the powerful primordial spirit's superpower of godly night. In addition, this was Su Fang's spiritual world. At this moment, he continuously used godly night's powerful primordial spirit superpower. After several collisions, he dissolved the ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit attack and swallowed it once again. Godly Knight, damn brat. Not only did he cultivate a second primordial spirit, but he also mastered the evil Godly Knight superpower. What kind of monster is he? As the ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit cried out in fear and shock, this primordial spirit was obliterated once again. Su Fong, you've infuriated me. This time, not only will I take back the beast taming tablet, I'll also destroy your divine aperture and turn you into an idiot. Humph! When you're enjoying a beauty, you suddenly become a living dead. That's really interesting. The ancestral Gragon was truly enraged. This time he was going all out. He broke out of his primordial spirit and aggressively pounced on Su Fong's divine aperture. Burning with astonishing dragon flames, he pounced on the beast taming tablet. Before he got the beast taming tablet, he didn't dare to really attack Su Fong's divine aperture. That would automatically cause a backlash from the beast taming tablet, which would directly injure his primordial spirit or even obliterate it. Therefore, he set his sights on the beast taming tablet again. However, this time, Su Fong's second primordial spirit floated far above the sea of magic power and looked at the ancestral Gragon coldly. He didn't have any intention of stopping the ancestral Gragon. The ancestral demon blood plate also didn't have any reaction. Is there some kind of conspiracy? The cunning ancestral Gragon suddenly became suspicious. He was also scared by Su Fong's endless tricks. You want to scare me? Under the suppression of my powerful primordial spirit, all schemes and tricks are a joke. The ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit shouted domineeringly. He dispelled the trace of doubt in his heart and pounced on the beast taming tablet. A burst of primordial spirit divine power rolled up a primordial spirit aura and brought the beast taming tablet in front of him. Then, he reached out and grabbed the beast taming tablet. QL 11-inch, I've finally got my beast taming tablet. I can finally regain my freedom completely. At this moment, the ancestral Gragon was so excited that he almost cried. From the moment he was born, his primordial spirit origin was stripped by the heavenly Lord and sealed in this beast taming tablet. When he grew up, he would be able to command the wind and the clouds in the universe and live a happy life. However, not long after, he was captured by the heavenly Lord and made into a mount. Moreover, the beast taming tablet was handed over to a powerhouse, and he was treated like an animal. The dignified ancestor of the divine dragon was said to be awe-inspiring, but who would know about the blood and tears he had shed over the years? Now that he had the beast taming tablet, he only needed to extract his primordial spirit origin and merge it with his original body. From then on, in this part of the universe, no one would be able to control him. The world was vast, and he could roam freely. How could the ancestral Gragon not be excited? Next, the ancestral Gragon penetrated his primordial spirit into the beast taming tablet without hesitation. He wanted to strip and merge the primordial spirit origin from it. Suddenly, some mysterious Tao runes flashed from the beast taming tablet. As they flickered rapidly, they turned into a silent thunder. The ancestral Gragon first felt that his ethereal fate was locked in, and then there was a thunderous explosion in the unseen world. The thunder of fate. The beast taming tablet was the key to controlling the ancestral Gragon, and the ancestral Gragon wanted to take back the beast taming tablet at all times. How could Su Fong not make any preparations? It turned out that when Su Fong had subdued the ancestral Gragon, he did not hesitate to consume his life force and left a thunder of fate in the beast taming tablet. Apart from his power, as long as it touched the beast taming tablet, it would trigger the supreme power of the thunder of fate to wipe out fate. The ancestral Gragon had long transcended this part of the universe. What he transcended was not only his primordial spirit and physical body, but also his fate. In this part of the universe, there was no supernatural power of fate or karma that could threaten his fate. However, at this very moment, under the attack of the supreme supernatural power of fate, not only was the ancestral Gragon unable to dodge, but it was also difficult for him to defend. The power of the thunder of fate almost shattered his primordial spirit, and even his physical body suffered heavy injuries. If it was not for the ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit and physical body being extremely strong, and the difference in strength between Su Fong and him being too great, everything would have been wiped out. Even the traces of his existence would have been wiped out. Although that was the case, the ancestral Gragon's primordial spirit and physical body suffered heavy injuries at the same time. He let out a miserable cry, and his primordial spirit kept turning into nothingness and continued to shatter. The primordial spirit quickly left Su Fong's divine aperture and returned to his physical body. Damn it, how hateful. This brat is actually so despicable. This ancestor insists. This ancestor can't do anything to this brat. This ancestor is so hateful. The ancestral Gragon roared towards the sky in Su Fong's internal world. He wanted to cry, but there were no tears. He did not dare to act rashly anymore. He still had to wait for Su Fong's revenge. Besides the pain, he was also anxious and frightened. As for Su Fong and Goddess Luo, they were immersed in the intense fusion of yin and yang. They did not notice what was happening in their divine apertures. After a long time, Su Fong let out a deep roar like a ferocious beast, and Goddess Luo's exclamation of shock. The two of them finally fell back from their peak. The two of them also regained consciousness. Seeing the naked body facing each other, Goddess Luo was extremely shy. She buried her head into Su Fong's embrace, and her long black hair covered her face. Su Fong carefully recalled the scene just now. He felt like he had done it countless times before. Goddess Luo was almost paralyzed in Su Fong's embrace. She said softly, "Su Fong, even if my past memories and fate are wiped out, I will still be your woman in the future. Just this one time is enough. This time, when our yin and yang fuse, I have already faintly grasped the fate and memories that were wiped out. I reckon that it will not be long before I can get them all back. Also, how is this one time enough? Hee. Ew. No. I'm going to become a master god now." Goddess Luo left Su Fong's embrace. A layer of black clothes quickly condensed on her body, covering her beautiful body. Then, her figure flashed, and she appeared 500 meters away. For gods, the divine body was the foundation. The essence, spirit, magic power, and spiritual abode complemented each other. However, everything was built on the divine body. The stronger the divine body, the faster one's cultivation speed. Their strength would also increase accordingly. Goddess Luo was originally at the peak of the Tao integration realm. She could break through at any time. This time, after swallowing the high-level life force and wood-type essence from the yin-yang fusion flower fruit, her divine body's life force had transformed. She also cultivated yin and yang with Su Fong. She obtained the power of 9 yang and the power of yin and yang from Su Fong. It was only natural for her to break through. Ordinary cultivators needed to undergo a heavenly tribulation to advance from the Tao integration realm to the Master God realm. In the Advent Divine Palace, heaven and earth were naturally isolated by the high-level energy from beyond the heavens. Logically speaking, if one could not attract a heavenly tribulation, they would not be able to advance. However, it was different for Goddess Luo. She came from beyond the heavens. Naturally, she did not need the recognition and baptism of the heavenly Tao of this world to advance. As long as her cultivation reached the required level, she would naturally advance smoothly. Goddess Luo came from beyond the heavens. Furthermore, she cultivated her inner world. After advancing to the Master God realm this time, her strength will definitely undergo a great transformation. Seeing his woman's strength increase, Su Fong was also very happy. There is something strange about the fusion with Goddess Luo's body this time. The yin-yang fusion flower is clearly not what the ancestral dragon said. That damned old loach. Chapter 25:46. After fusing with his second primordial spirit, Su Fong soon found out what the ancestral Gragon had done while he was dual cultivating with Goddess Luo. What a cunning old man. Clearly, he knew what would happen if he devoured the yin-yang amalgamation flower. That's why he set a trap and tried to seize the beast token in one fell swoop. Fortunately, I tampered with the beast token beforehand. Otherwise, how could I survive if the beast token was taken away by the ancestral Gregon? Thinking of the consequences of the ancestral Gregon taking away the beast token, Su Fong felt a chill run down his spine. I, Su Fong, have unparalleled luck. How could I be easily set up by an old loach like you? Since I, Su Fong, am not dead, then it's your turn to suffer, old loach. Su Fong smiled coldly, then peeled off a beam of Yang spirit and entered his inner world. Congratulations on fusing with the yin-yang amalgamation flower and obtaining a beauty. You also have hope of becoming a middle-rank lord. The ancestral Gregon was all smiles. He cupped his fists and congratulated Su Fong. This cunning old man was also extraordinarily thick-skinned. He was able to let go of things easily, as expected of the first divine dragon in this universe. Su Fong's Yang spirit smirked. Old Loach, should I thank you? Please address me as Lord Ancestral Gregon. The Ancestral Gregon's expression did not change. There's no need to thank me. Who asked me to promise to be your guardian and serve you for thousands of years? Your abilities have increased, so I'll be able to relax. This is what I should do. Who would have thought that this old dragon would be so shameless? Su Fong could not be bothered to continue talking nonsense with the Ancestral Gregon. With a thought, the seal in the beast token was activated. The Ancestral Gregon's primordial spirit origin was immediately suppressed by the seal. The Ancestral Gregon himself immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Then he shouted angrily, Brat, I was kind enough to let you enjoy the pleasure of a man and a woman, but you turned against me. This is outrageous. How can I, Su Fong, be controlled by someone else? Since you let me enjoy the pleasure of a man and a woman, then I'll let you enjoy the taste of having your primordial spirit origin shattered. Su Fong was truly infuriated. He activated the restrictions again and again, wanting to obliterate the ancestral dragon's primordial spirit. Stop. Hurry up and stop. This ancestor was wrong this time. Too late. The ancestral dragon's primordial spirit source was constantly shattering under the power of the beast taming token's restriction. The ancestral dragon's primordial spirit was also shattering layer by layer. It was about to perish. Submit. This ancestor is willing to sincerely submit to you this time. Stop. Quickly stop. If this continues, this ancestor's primordial spirit will completely collapse. At this time, Ancestral Gregon realized that Su Fong was not a kind person. Like him, Su Fong was a cruel and merciless person. He screamed and begged for mercy. Su Fong remained unmoved. He said in a cold voice, You say you're surrendering, but who knows if you're secretly rebelling against me? Instead of keeping a hidden danger by my side all the time, I might as well kill you. Your dragon blood, dragon skin, dragon tendons, dragon bones, and dragon aura can be used to help me cultivate and break through to become a lower chief god. You're killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Why don't you keep this ancestor alive? This ancestor can provide you with an endless supply of dragon blood for cultivation. I think a dead dragon is more reassuring. Not only do I have dragon blood to help you cultivate, but I also have the supreme strength of a transcendent. I can help you wipe out all strong enemies. I once traveled the outer world with the heavenly venerables. When you go to the outer world, I can even be your guide. Su Fong's heart skipped a beat. Only then did he stop activating the beast-taming token's restriction. The ancestral dragon's primordial spirit also stopped shattering. However, it was severely injured. His whole body was trembling, and his face was pale. Snot and tears flowed down his face. He looked very miserable. To think that the great ancestral dragon would be tortured to such a state. He was truly pitiful. Su Fong shouted domineeringly, Since you're still useful, I'll spare your life this time. If there's a next time, even if you're the Daozu of the Jioshuan god territory, I won't spare your life. No matter how much milk he accumulated, How could it be more cost-effective than rearing a cow? Su Fong planned to treat the ancestral dragon like a cow. He would ask for dragon blood whenever he needed it. I won't dare. I definitely won't dare to do that again. The ancestral dragon nodded repeatedly. This time, he was truly frightened by Su Fong. He had completely extinguished any thoughts of seizing the beast-taming token. Su Fong continued to speak rudely. Give me 1,000 drops of dragon blood first. I want to break through to become a middle-rank lord. 1,000 drops. The ancestral dragon was trembling all over. I've been sealed for so many years and lost most of my vitality. If I were to give you another 1,000 drops of dragon blood, how would I survive? Su Fong said indifferently. Then I'll kill you right away and devour your dragon blood. That's even simpler. The ancestral dragon shuddered and hurriedly said, what I mean is that the vitality, and dragon aura contained in my dragon blood are too overbearing. You won't be able to control too much of it, and you might even be injured. I'll give you 10 drops of dragon blood first. Come and get them whenever you need them for your cultivation. The ancestral dragon was afraid that Su Fong would go back on his word. He peeled off a blob of dragon blood and flew it towards Su Fong. As expected of the ancestral dragon's blood essence, Su Fong's perfect level vision could see that there was a golden dragon phantom circling within the blob of dragon blood. Furthermore, it contained vitality that was even more majestic than the yin-yang integration flower's fruit, as well as pure dragon aura. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. 2 or 3 drops will be enough for me to elevate to middle rank lord. I won't have to worry about lacking resources for my cultivation after this. Su Fong stared at the dragon blood. He was overjoyed. Continue to recover from your injuries. I'll come and get your dragon blood whenever I need it, Su Fong said coldly. Then, the Yang spirit took the dragon blood and left in embarrassment. The ancestral dragon lowered his head and was silent for a long time. Finally, he raised his head and let out a roar filled with desolation and despair. I am so pitiful. The great ancestral dragon had become a milk cow that provided Su Fong with dragon blood. This ancestral dragon was more than pitiful. Su Fong gave half of the blob of dragon blood to Goddess Luo. After she successfully elevated, she could assimilate the dragon blood and rapidly recover her depleted energy and stabilize her cultivation base. After that, Su Fong sat down cross-legged and prepared to break through the barrier to become a middle-rank lord in one go. This elevation would definitely take a long time. He would not have the time to enter the depths of the Advent God Palace and fight with Lord Tru Yang for the treasure. However, Su Fong had nothing to feel sorry about. His main purpose in coming to the Advent God Palace this time was to save Shu Wanjin. So far, he had subdued the ancestral dragon and improved his relationship with Goddess Luo. Now, he was about to elevate to become a middle-rank lord. With so many gains, any one of them was a great opportunity. What was there for Su Fong to be dissatisfied with? Therefore, he began to focus on breaking through to become a middle-rank lord. He created a chrono formation around him. Then, he used Heavenfall Underworld to transform into Bloodwater and Blood Dome. Although Su Fong had deliberately controlled the area of the Bloodwater and Blood Dome to be only 1,000 feet wide, their power was extremely shocking. It was like a world made of Bloodwater and Blood Dome. Any life and energy could be devoured. QL 11 Chi, a drop of dragon blood, fell into the Bloodwater and rapidly assimilated with it. In an instant, the Bloodwater churned up a shocking blood wave, wildly burning with the flames of life. The Blood Dome also churned continuously. The majestic life essence and dragon chi contained in the dragon blood were rapidly devoured by the Heavenfall Underworld's reincarnation power and transformed into Su Fong's life force. At the same time, Su Fong consolidated his physical body in the Bloodwater. He activated the 9 Yang 9 changes and fused them with dragon chi to cultivate. At this very moment, Su Fong's physical body and heaven and earth Tao Palace were all undergoing shocking transformations. After approximately 100 years in the chrono formation, Su Fong had devoured 3 drops of dragon blood. Qi. Shocking tribulation, qi surged out of Su Fong's body. His physical body, Su Fong, opened his mouth and sucked all the blood water and blood dome into his body. As soon as he was done, tribulation qi spurted wildly from his body. In an instant, it turned into flames. The tribulation fire was so shocking that it burned fiercely in the chrono formation. In addition, Su Fong had activated the 9-yang divine fire, causing the entire formation's interior to be engulfed in a raging sea of fire. He was finally about to break through. The energy Su Fong needed to elevate at this moment was extremely shocking. Moreover, he needed high-level energy. Therefore, it was extremely difficult for him to elevate. It seemed like there was only a single step from lower-rank Lord to middle-rank Lord, but in reality, it was like a chasm. If he were to cultivate in closed-door cultivation, Su Fong would probably not be able to break through to middle-rank Lord without tens of millions of years, or even longer. This time, Su Fong had used the yin-yang combination flower and Goddess Luo's yin-yang dual cultivation, in addition to the ancestor dragon's blood. This was why Su Fong's elevation speed had become so shocking. After that, Su Fong no longer cultivated. Instead, he attempted another breakthrough. After countless attempts, the tribulation fire swept out with a whoosh like a single spark setting a prairie ablaze. It actually shattered the chrono formation that Su Fong had created. The tribulation fire was still burning, and his elevation was beginning to take shape. An impact force swept out from within his body, and the familiar impurities in his placenta gushed out layer by layer. Su Fong had been resurrected from the dead in the 10 Serenities and reconstructed his physical body. This caused his physical body to become extremely vast and close to perfection. This time, there were not many impurities in his placenta due to his elevation to middle-rank Lord. The unbridled impact brought Su Fong immense pain that he had never experienced before. Elevating was equivalent to tearing one's physical body apart and then rebuilding it from the ashes. Without a strong Taoist heart, the mere act of elevating was unbearable for many cultivators. It was precisely because of the pain that he experienced time and time again that he underwent metamorphosis time and time again. After an unknown amount of time, the tribulation fire gradually disappeared. A transcendent and peaceful divine light shone out from Su Fong's body. From the divine light, one could see all sorts of worldly and cosmic phenomena. Joyfully, he used his sensing ability and saw that the universe Tao Palace had become even deeper, 10 times deeper than before. The speed at which the world tree absorbed and released yin-yang world energy had also increased. It formed the universe Tao Palace with the 77 yang meridians. The energy in his body was like the cycle of heaven and earth, circulating endlessly. His divine apertures and primordial spirit also underwent transformations. His dermic powers undulated, vast and boundless, filled with yin and yang dermic powers. At that moment, Su Fong felt his entire body brimming with power. With just a thought, the world would collapse. Su Fong was confident that he could kill ordinary venerable lords with the help of dermic treasures like the Origin Holy Mirror and the Ancestor Demon Blood Plate, as well as the primordial spirit power of his second primordial spirit. If he used an ability that transcended heaven and earth, the duration would be 10 times longer than when he was a lower-rank lord. Chapter 2547. Su Fong did some calculations on his fingers. He had spent close to 800 years in the chrono formation. The formation he created using his chrono formation divine ability could accelerate time by a shocking 100-fold. In other words, he had spent 800 years in the formation, but only 8 years had passed in the outside world. In addition to the time it took for the formation to break, close to 10 years had passed. He looked at Goddess Luo again. She was still in the process of breaking through to Lord level. Breaking through to Lord level was very important to Goddess Luo. Although the chrono formation could save her a lot of time, the power of time would also affect her advancement. She could only go with the flow. Su Fong had spent 10,000 years trying to break through to Lord level the last time. Goddess Luo might take even longer this time. Su Fong dared not disturb Goddess Luo. He sat cross-legged where he was and integrated the dragon blood to stabilize his middle-rank lord level. Su Fong found 2 storage rings in the clothes next to the yin-yang amalgamation flower. There were many ancient pills, magic treasures, gemstones, and other resources in them. Su Fong could use them for cultivation. The ancestral Gragon spoke in his inner world. My young friend Su Fong, congratulations on successfully elevating to middle-rank lord level. That, look at how badly my primordial spirit is injured. I'm about to die, and you've taken so much of my dragon blood. Can you reward me with some more soul marrow elixir? The ancestral Gragon was terrified of Su Fong. He actually humbled himself before Su Fong. Do you want me to give you the soul marrow elixir to restore your primordial spirit so that you can kill me? Su Fong replied coldly. The ancestral Gragon said hurriedly, No, I won't do that again. I, Su Fong, have never been stingy with my subordinates. I'll give you a drop of soul marrow elixir first. Only 1 drop? You think it's too little? Forget it then. No. 1 drop is fine too. You're really magnanimous and righteous. Do you think my soul marrow elixir is water in a river? Every drop is 1 less drop. It's not impossible for you to get more soul marrow elixir, but it'll depend on your performance next. Yes, I'll definitely do that. While he was communicating with the ancestral Gragon, boom, a huge commotion erupted from the deepest part of the Advent Palace. A high-grade energy aura that came from beyond the heavens turned into a yellow cloud and rolled out from the depths. The yellow cloud erupted like a tsunami. Everywhere it went, the broken walls were destroyed and turned into dust. Yellow clouds blotted out the sky and instantly shrouded the entire Advent God Palace. High-level energy from beyond the heavens filled every corner of the Advent God Palace and even swept out of the palace. At this moment, the Advent Divine Palace had completely turned into a world filled with dead silence. Some of the gods and Big Goblin that had entered the Advent Divine Palace and were searching for treasures outside were caught off guard and shrouded by the yellow clouds. The bodies of the weaker cultivators and the Big Goblin instantly collapsed under the impact of the high-grade energy. Even their primordial spirits could not escape the shackles of the high-grade energy, and their souls were destroyed. The stronger cultivators and Big Goblin hurriedly put up their defenses or used their most powerful life-saving techniques. Although they were lucky enough to escape the first wave of impact, they were shackled by the high-grade energy. Amidst the ubiquitous high-grade energy aura, the life aura, primordial spirits, and dermic powers of the low-grade life forms from this part of the universe were rapidly devoured by the high-grade energy aura. The only thing the cultivators and Big Goblin could do was to bitterly hold on and struggle. However, all their struggles were futile. Amidst the terrifying energy from beyond the heavens, their life and energy would be exhausted sooner or later. In the end, even their bones would not be left behind. Su Fong, who was in the abandoned garden, was similarly impacted. Su Fong's perfection stage ability had long sensed the energy explosion from within the Advent God Palace. Not good. Sensing the terrifying energy from beyond the heavens, Su Fong estimated that it was almost at the level of a transcendence stage expert's attack. Su Fong could absorb the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens and had the ability to temporarily transcend the heavens and earth. Her safety was not a concern. However, Goddess Luo was currently at the critical moment of her advancement, so how could she be disturbed? Greatly alarmed, Su Fong immediately activated the Infinity Wheel, erupting with the power of time, forming an area where the flow of time slowed down. This was used to slow down the impact of the energy from beyond the heavens. However, this was clearly far from enough. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong activated the Heaven Supervisor token, using the power of the Heavenly Tao Order to condense and imprint, creating an extremely sturdy barrier in front of him and Goddess Luo. Immediately after, the power of the yin-yang world surged out from his body, instantly forming a universe that protected him and Goddess Luo. Boom, boom, boom. Astonishing high-grade energy rushed into the formation outside the valley and into the valley. When the energy impacted the area covered by the infinity wheel's power of time, it was like a torrential flood crashing onto a beach. It rapidly slowed down, and its power was also weakened by half. However, the impact was extremely shocking, and the infinity wheel's power of time could only serve as a buffer. Under the impact, it shattered layer by layer before finally collapsing. The infinity wheel let out a series of shattering sounds, and with a final hum, it was swept away, disappearing into the high-grade energy torrent. It was unknown where it was swept to. My infinity wheel. Su Fong watched helplessly as the infinity wheel was damaged and swept away. His heart was constantly dripping blood. However, he couldn't be bothered to feel heartache now. The energy torrent crashed into the formation created by the Heaven's Supervisor token, and it felt like a raging wave crashing into a wall. Although the power of the wave was weakened once again, it still shattered the wall. In front of the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens, the laws of this world, energy, and the power of magic treasures were unable to withstand a single blow. Boom! Boom! The universe condensed by Su Fong's divine power was also impacted. The universe shook violently and constantly collapsed, showing the scene of heaven and earth collapsing. However, Su Fong's universe was an existence that transcended this world. The energy torrent that erupted from beyond the heavens was unable to shatter it. The torrent swept past and then gradually calmed down. Su Fong finally survived this calamity. He withdrew his divine power and trembled all over before collapsing to the ground. Goddess Luo was still closing her eyes to break through to Master God, completely unaware of what was happening outside. I didn't expect that the world fragment in the depths of the Advent Divine Palace would erupt with such terrifying power. I reckoned that cultivators below the Emperor level would die from this energy attack. Su Fong felt a lingering fear. Although he was not injured this time, he had only used up a large amount of the Yin-Yang world's power. However, he had lost the infinity wheel, which made Su Fong's heart ache. Seeing that Goddess Luo was unharmed, Su Fong's heart calmed down slightly. Then, Su Fong consumed dragon blood and pills to recover while using his great perfection ability to sense the Advent Divine Palace. The entire interior of the Advent Divine Palace was covered in yellow clouds. Su Fong's great perfection ability was also shackled, and he could only see a range of about 1,000 meters. This is going to be troublesome. The difficulty of entering the Advent Divine Palace and finding and rescuing Senior Sister has increased tenfold. Su Fong began to worry about Shu Wanjin. He activated Nine Yang's power and poured it into the Origin Holy Mirror, transmitting his thoughts to the central space-time. Shu Wanjin responded very quickly. Su Fong, what happened just now? Even I was affected in the heavenly Tao chessboard. Shu Wanjin had never sensed the energy eruption of the world fragment from beyond the heavens in the heavenly Tao chessboard before, but she was affected this time. Clearly, the eruption this time was far greater than before. Su Fong slowly explained to Shu Wanjin about the high-grade energy eruption of the world fragment from beyond the heavens, as well as the current environment of the Advent Divine Palace. If that's all, it's not a big deal. In a few hundred years, perhaps this high-grade energy will gradually dissipate. Moreover, not only will this high-grade energy not be a threat to you, but you can also use it to cultivate and stabilize your middle-rank lord level. I've been in the heavenly Tao chessboard for so long anyway, a few hundred years won't matter to me. Shu Wanjin appeared very calm. After ending his conversation with Shu Wanjin, Su Fong continued to sense the outside world. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Several life auras were moving toward the valley. These auras caused the heavenly secret life, shrinking techniques, Tao, runes to flicker rapidly. Su Fong was surprised. Lord Tru Yang, Brahma Monarch, Emperor Zhu, and a venerable Emperor powerhouse. They're all here. Apparently, Lord Tru Yang had invited Brahma Monarch and the others into the Advent Divine Palace in search of a powerful treasure. He had not expected them to come here. QL-11, with their venerable Emperor Powerhouse's abilities, they should be able to cope with the high-grade energy eruption just now. However, it would be extremely difficult for them to continue surviving in the Advent Divine Palace, which was filled with high-grade energy auras. Su Fong could ignore the others, but if there was a chance, Su Fong would still find a way to help the venerable Emperor Powerhouse from the Fire God Zhu clan. Su Fong was slightly worried about Zhu Yan. With his and his master's abilities, the chances of them surviving the high-grade energy eruption just now were slim. There's still a spirit array here. It didn't collapse under the terrifying impact just now. The four venerable emperors arrived outside the valley and immediately discovered the spirit array outside. Brahma Monarch exclaimed in surprise. Lord True Yang warned, there are dangers everywhere in the Advent Divine Palace. Now that the energy from beyond the heavens has just erupted, it's best not to complicate things. If we trigger the barrier, the consequences will be unpredictable. The four stopped outside the spirit array. These four were all venerable emperors, but at this moment, they were all in a sorry state. Although they were not injured, their auras were weak. The four sat down cross-legged and swallowed pills to recover while conversing. Su Fong heard their conversation clearly with his perfect hearing. Brahma Monarch said in a deep voice, Lord True Yang, you invited this emperor to the Advent Divine Palace, saying that there was some kind of peerless treasure. Now that we haven't found the treasure and have fallen into such a dangerous situation, we may all die in this Advent Divine Palace. Now you should tell us what kind of treasure it is, right? The venerable emperor from the Zhu clan also snorted coldly. Lord True Yang, if the treasure you mentioned is false, this emperor will leave immediately and leave this damned place. Another venerable emperor sighed. It's almost impossible to leave the Advent Divine Palace now. We can only wait for a few more days until the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens dissipates. Only then will we have a chance to leave. There was a moment of silence. Lord True Yang said, in that case, this emperor will tell you the truth. The treasure this emperor is looking for is a Jiuquan divine artifact that surpasses the divine artifact of creation. I presume you haven't heard of a Jiuquan divine artifact? A Jiuquan divine artifact? What's that? Chapter 2548. This was also the first time Su Fong had heard of it. He asked the ancestral Graygon, Jiuquan divine weapon? Old dragon, what's that? The ancestral Graygon explained. The so-called Jiuquan divine weapon is a magic weapon used by the experts of the Jiuquan God realm. It's a divine weapon that surpasses any magic weapon in this world. It's equivalent to the difference between a divine weapon and a Dao weapon. In the Jiuquan God realm, people habitually call the Jiuquan divine weapon the Xianbao. Su Fong thought of Dong Xianzheng's magic weapon, the Clear Sea Mysterious Bowl. It should be a Jiuquan divine weapon, and an extremely powerful one at that. Su Fong then asked, is there really a Jiuquan divine weapon inside the Advent Palace? The ancestral Graygon continued. As far as I know, the Heavenly Lord does have a Jiuquan divine weapon, but he carries it with him. A Jiuquan divine weapon that surpasses a divine weapon of creation is also very important to the Heavenly Lord. How would he possibly keep it here? That Emperor True Yang is lying? Not really. Back then, when the Heavenly Lord was traveling in outer space, he once obtained a powerful Jiuquan divine weapon. However, it was an incomplete prototype of a flying sword. It was placed in a palace specially used for refining treasures. It's probably still there now. I'm afraid this sovereign Jinyang isn't simple. He actually knows about this matter. Su Fong was also very puzzled. He then asked, Old Dragon, you've been by the Heavenly Lord's side for a long time, so you should know a lot about him. What happened to him? Why are there so many changes in the world? The ancestral dragon's reply greatly disappointed Su Fong. I was treated as a mount by the Empyrean, and I do know many things about the Empyrean. However, the Empyrean used a supreme, forbidden technique to seal my mouth. As long as I speak, I will immediately be punished by the heavens and killed. Such a thing happened again. While Su Fong was shocked, he was also greatly disappointed. With the supreme power of the Heavenly Lord, it was absolutely easy for him to use a forbidden spell to seal the ancestral Gragon's mouth. No matter how powerful the ancestral Gragon was, how could he escape the forbidden spell of a supreme Heavenly Lord? However, Su Fong was not without gains. Since the power of the forbidden spell was still there, it was enough to prove that the Heavenly Lord still existed in this world. Otherwise, the forbidden spell would naturally disappear. It seemed that he had to enter the mountain if he wanted to find out the truth. He continued to perk up his ears to eavesdrop on the conversation between the four venerables outside. The emperor introduced the divine weapon of the Jiuquan divine weapon to the other three emperors. The eyes of the other three instantly became hale and hearty. A divine weapon of the Jiuquan, divine weapon of the divine weapon. A divine weapon of divine weapon. Emperor Tru Yang stroked his beard and said with certainty, "Yes, on the second floor of the Advent Palace, there is a palace called the Dark Casting Palace. It is a palace specially used by the Heavenly Lord to refine magic weapons. The prototype of the Xian Bao is inside the Dark Casting Palace." The eyes of Fan Di and the others lit up again. However, those who could become venerable emperors were all cunning old foxes. Naturally, they wouldn't believe Venerable Tru Yang's words just because of a few words. Fan Di continued to ask. Before the last upheaval, there was no explosion of extraterrestrial energy inside the Advent Palace. There were many restrictions. Although people entered the Advent Palace, no one had ever left alive. It was not until the explosion of extraterrestrial energy that more than half of the restrictions were destroyed that people were able to enter. How did you know that there was a powerful magic weapon inside the Advent Palace? And so clearly. The Zhu Clan Emperor and the other emperors also looked at Emperor Tru Yang with doubts in their eyes. Emperor Tru Yang smiled and said, "You are all so smart. Well, I won't hide anything. Not only do I know that there is a prototype of the Xian Bao in the Dark Casting Palace, but I also know that the treasure refining pool used to refine the prototype of the Xian Bao was refined by the Supreme Heavenly Lord in the Tang Valley." Tang Valley? The place where the Divine Sun once rose, the Tang Valley. The other three exclaimed in shock. Legend had it that in the primeval times, there were a total of 10 divine suns in the sky. The place where the divine suns rose was the Tang Valley. Later, he shot down the 9 suns. The Sun God clan was exterminated, and the Tang Valley was destroyed. Who would have thought that the Heavenly Lord of Creation would move the legendary Tang Valley into the Divine Palace of Advent and refine it into a treasure refining pool? Emperor Tru Yang stroked his beard and said, "This emperor is a descendant of the Sun God race. Although the Sun God race was destroyed, I still know some things about the inside of the celestial worthy mountain. So, I don't think you have any more doubts?" There was a moment of silence. Fondi said in a deep voice, "Although the prototype of the Xian Bao from the outer world is not bad, there's only one treasure. We have 4 emperors, so how are we going to split the treasure? I don't want to go through so much trouble to enter the Dark Casting Palace, only to have a fight to the death between us." This was what they were most concerned about. Emperor Tru Yang said with a smile, "The Dark Casting Palace is the place where the Heavenly Lord refines his treasures. How can there only be one treasure? Besides, even if there's only one treasure, the treasure refining pool refined from the Tang Valley is a treasure that surpasses any divine creation tool. The flames in the treasure refining pool contain pure yang essence, which is also a supreme cultivation treasure. When the time comes, won't it be enough for the 4 of us?" The other 3 nodded. The Emperor of the Fire God clan suddenly asked, "The interior of the Dark Casting Palace must be incomparably dangerous. Otherwise, with your cultivation, why would you ask us to help you? If there is any danger in the Dark Casting Palace, you should inform us in advance so that we can be prepared." Fondi nodded and said, "That's right." Emperor Tru Yang said, "Then I won't hide it from you. I'll tell you everything." Just as Emperor Zhu had expected, the Dark Casting Palace was indeed full of danger. In addition to powerful restrictions, there were many strange flame monsters. Not only were they powerful, but they were also almost immortal in the dark casting palace. They were quite difficult to deal with. However, this was not the most dangerous thing. The greatest danger came from the embryonic Xian Bao that came from beyond the heavens. Although the embryonic Xian Bao had not been completely refined, it constantly released astonishing flaming sword chi. Even a supreme sovereign would be seriously injured or even killed if they were hit by the sword chi. Therefore, even if they entered the dark casting palace, it would be very difficult for them to take away the embryonic Xian Bao. Fondi's divine light changed slightly. It's only an embryonic Xian Bao, but it can release such terrifying power on its own. If it's truly refined, how powerful will it be? Emperor Zhu said, "Since you know so much, Tru Yang, I'm sure you already have a plan to deal with it." Tru Yang's face showed a proud expression as he changed to a Yuan spirit transmission. Now, Su Fong could only stare. No matter how powerful his Yuan spirit was, it was not strong enough to eavesdrop on the Yuan spirits of several sovereigns without being detected. When the other three heard Tru Yang's Yuan spirit transmission, the divine light in their eyes changed slightly. However, they did not say anything, and all of them looked very relieved. They did not know what method Sovereign Tru Yang would come up with to take away the embryonic Xian Bao, but the three sovereigns felt that it was very feasible. After that, the four stopped talking and sat cross-legged outside the valley, swallowing pills to recover their strength while waiting for the energy from beyond the heavens to calm down. Inside the valley, Su Fong's Yuan spirit consciousness sank into his inner world and asked ancestral Gragon, "Old Dragon, how much do you think Sovereign Tru Yang's words are trustworthy?" This ancestor was shackled in the first layer of space by the sovereigns and has never entered the dark casting palace. However, this ancestor still knows a little about the dark casting palace. What Sovereign Tru Yang said is almost all true. Why does Sovereign Tru Yang know so many things that ordinary people don't know? Perhaps the Solar God clan really has some information about the inside of the celestial worthy mountain that has been passed down from generation to generation. Sovereign Tru Yang is a descendant of the Solar God clan, so it's not too strange for him to know this. However, this person's actions are indeed a little suspicious. Don't believe his words so easily. No matter how cunning Sovereign Tru Yang is, could he be more cunning than you, old dragon? This ancestor has always been honest. Don't slander me. Anyway, Goddess Luo still needs some time to become a master god. We can follow the Tru Yang imperial people into the dark casting palace to take a look. A Xian Bao from beyond the heavens that surpassed a divine creation artifact. Who would not be tempted? Moreover, Su Fong just happened to be lacking a Xian Bao with powerful attacks. In addition, he would transcend this universe sooner or later and head to the Jiushuan divine realm to find Dongxian Zheng and Dongxian Rong. If he could obtain a Jiushuan divine artifact that surpassed a divine creation artifact, it would be equivalent to having another trump card. About 100 years later, the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens that filled the Descendant Palace had clearly weakened significantly. The four venerable emperors outside also began to move and search the depths of the second level. Su Fong released his second primordial spirit and quietly followed the four venerable emperors. Through his primordial spirit's divine aura, Su Fong could clearly see the four's every move. At this moment, the Descendant Palace was shackled by the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. Their senses were also limited. In addition, the second primordial spirit's primordial spirit was extremely powerful, surpassing that of ordinary venerable emperors. The four venerable emperors found it difficult to discover the second primordial spirit's existence. Su Fong's original body remained in the valley to protect Goddess Luo and prevent her from being disturbed when she became a master god. The interior of the Descendant Palace was shrouded in layers of yellow clouds. Although Sovereign Tru Yang and the others were powerful, they were shackled by the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. They could not fly, let alone use their teleportation abilities. They could only walk like mortals. In addition, there were ruins everywhere. Although Sovereign Tru Yang knew the approximate location, It was difficult for him to find the dark casting palace in a short time. He could only search slowly and carefully. Time flew by. Another 50-odd years passed. Su Fong let his second primordial spirit follow sovereign Tru Yang and the others. His original body was in the abandoned herb garden, wantonly absorbing the high-grade energy from beyond the heavens. At the same time, he also devoured pills. QL11, after absorbing a large amount of high-grade energy, Su Fong rapidly stabilized his realm at an astonishing speed. He gradually reached the normal state of a middle-rank lord. The high-grade energy from beyond the heavens lived up to its name. It helped Su Fong reach such a state in a short time. This was unimaginable in nature. Chapter 2549. Goddess Luo's entire advancement process lasted for more than a decade, and she successfully became a chief god. This was much shorter than Su Fong had estimated. The reason for this was naturally because Goddess Luo's advancement time had been greatly reduced by absorbing the high-grade energy aura. Halfway through, Su Fong was still worried that the otherworldly world fragment in the Advent Divine Palace would erupt again. However, everything was peaceful, and there was no shocking explosion like before. Goddess Luo's next step was to stabilize her state. There was high-grade energy around her to absorb, and she also had the ancestral dragon's blood. It would not take long for her to completely stabilize. Whoosh! A black Xianguang passed through the formation and appeared in front of Su Fong. It entered Su Fong's mind through his glabella. It was his second primordial spirit. It turned out that Lord Tru Yang had already found the dark casting palace and had entered it with the other 3 venerable emperors. QL11 Goddess Luo asked Su Fong, "What's the matter?" Su Fong told Goddess Luo about what had happened. Goddess Luo said in surprise, "Jiuxuan's divine weapon? The Xianguang that could be valued by a heavenly venerable is definitely not an ordinary treasure. It's definitely not inferior to Dong Xianzheng's clear sea mystic bowl. Since I've encountered such a fortuitous encounter, I must take it." Su Fong said hesitantly, "If you stay here alone, won't it be dangerous if the otherworldly world fragment erupts with high-grade energy again?" Goddess Luo said, "I've just advanced and need to stabilize my state. Moreover, there's high-grade energy aura everywhere right now. It's perfect for cultivation. It'll be a pity to waste it." Seeing Su Fong still hesitating, she revealed a proud expression. "You're underestimating me too much. With my current strength and the piercing sun-golden rainbow, even if I encounter any fatal danger, I can easily retreat. Why are you worried about my safety? Then be careful." Su Fong left the abandoned herb garden. After being impacted by the high-grade energy torrent, the formation around the valley was riddled with holes. Su Fong did not need a token and could easily pass through the formation. Su Fong used the power of the world of yin and yang to fly with the aura of the outer world. Although it was not as fast as lightning in the natural world, nor as fast as teleportation, it was more than 100 times faster than walking. This was the extraordinary ability of Su Fong to cultivate his own world and universe, which allowed him to transcend this world and universe. The high-grade energy from the outer heavens that even peerless emperors would be shackled by, yet he was able to control it with ease. Although he was also shackled, he was far stronger than other emperor masters, passing through layers of yellow clouds. These dense yellow clouds were actually condensed from the high-grade energy that had erupted from the outer world fragment. Even if an Emperor Realm Master fell into them, they would be shackled or even killed. However, Su Fong had no misgivings. He flew over mountain ranges and lands. Under the guidance of his second primordial spirit, 3 months later, he arrived in front of a huge mountain. In the huge mountain peak, there was an entrance to an underground cave. It turned out that the profound casting palace was under the mountain peak. It was no wonder that it could survive the explosions of energy from outer space. Su Fong used his great perfection stage ability and used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to sense the entrance. Astonishing heat constantly surged out from the entrance. It contained the aura of flames and divine yang that made Su Fong feel very comfortable. It also contained the high-grade energy from the outer heavens, as well as scorching, sharp, and transcendent sword chi. With the help of the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique, he could sense the aura of destiny of Emperor Tru Yang, Brahma Monarch, and the others. It seemed that they had indeed entered the cave. I just lost the Infinity Chariot, and then I found a peerless Xian Bao in the profound casting palace. This is enough to prove that the Xian Bao belongs to me. Su Fong. Su Fong looked at the entrance in the huge mountain with anticipation. Wong Wong Wong. Su Fong was about to enter through the entrance when the Tao of Destiny from the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique began to flicker rapidly. In the end, it turned into several familiar figures in his mind. They were the clone that had descended, the ancestral fiend, the demonic sky demon saint, and the 3 emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance. Over 100 Tao Defiance Alliance experts had entered the Divine Palace of Advent, but only the 6 of them remained. It was unknown whether they had been taken into the artifact space or perished in the explosion of high-grade energy from the outer heavens. It was also unknown how they had found this place. Su Fong hurriedly used the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. He hid behind a rock on the mountain ridge. Master, is this the entrance to the profound casting palace? The ancestral fiend asked as the 6 Tao Defiance Alliance experts stopped at the entrance to the cave. The clone that had descended nodded and said, "That's right. From the divine yang aura and sword chi that are constantly surging out from the entrance, we can determine that this is the profound casting palace where the heavenly venerate refined his artifact." The ancestral fiend said hesitantly, "The divine yang aura and sword chi emanating from the entrance to the cave are extremely shocking. Even I feel apprehensive. They are clearly restraining us. Clearly, it is extremely dangerous inside. If we go in a search for treasures, what if we delay Master's important matters?" The clone that had descended said majestically, "From the memories that I obtained from my main body, I vaguely know that the treasures in the profound casting palace are extraordinary. They are definitely not inferior to the world fragment from the Jioshuan divine realm. However, I don't know exactly what they are." "I see." The ancestral fiend nodded and said, "Since that's the case, I'm willing to do my best to help Master obtain those treasures." The clone that had descended said, "Don't worry. Once we obtain the treasures in the profound casting palace, most of the high-grade energy from the outer heavens will disperse. At that time, we can go and obtain the world fragment in the depths of the divine palace. Once I fuse with the world fragment, not only will I be able to solidify my body, but my strength will increase greatly as well. The chances of helping you transcend will increase greatly as well." The ancestral fiend was overjoyed. "Thank you, Master." Following that, the clone that had descended said to the Devil's Saint, "Stay at the entrance. Firstly, you will receive me and the others. Secondly, you will prevent any unforeseen circumstances from occurring." "Yes, my lord." The Devil's Saint cupped his fists and said. The clone that had descended was actually so cautious. He himself possessed the strength of a transcender, while the ancestral fiend was a peak existence that was infinitely close to the transcender realm. Yet, he had still left the Devil's Saint behind to cover their retreat. The reason he had left the Devil's Saint behind was because he had been severely injured in the battle of the Two Realms River. He had been ambushed by Devil Saint Fu Sha's second essence soul, and he had also been heavily injured by the ancestral fiend bloodplate. Even his head had been chopped off. His body and essence soul had been severely injured, and he was far from recovering from his injuries. That was why he had been left behind to cover their retreat. The clone that had descended led the 4 experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance through the entrance and quickly disappeared. As for the Devil's Saint, he sat down cross-legged on a rock not far from the entrance. He waved his hand and swept out a ray of devilish light, causing a black cauldron to appear on the rock. Immediately after that, he released over a dozen human cultivators and the big goblin from his palm. Su Fong unleashed his great perfection ability and saw everything clearly. When he saw Zhu Yan and Zhu Yan's master among the dozen cultivators, Su Fong's brows instantly furrowed. Those cultivators, and the big goblin should have been captured by the devil saint after entering the Advent Divine Palace. They had been shackled in his inner world as cultivation tools, and he had taken them out to cultivate now. He hadn't expected Zhu Yin and his master to be shackled by the devil saint. Fortunately, they had been captured by the devil saint. Otherwise, with Zhu Yin and his master's strength, they would have definitely died in the high-grade energy torrent that had erupted from beyond the heavens. The other cultivators and the big goblin were no exception. However, they weren't much better off in the devil saint's hands. They were even more miserable. Judging from the devil saint's posture, he actually intended to use the cauldron to cook and eat those cultivators and the big goblin. Since I've encountered them, I have no choice but to rescue them. Moreover, the devil saint once fought with me in the War of the Two Realms. He was lucky enough to escape. This time, I can't let him go no matter what. After pondering for a while, Su Fong immediately released his second primordial spirit. It transformed into a black Xian Guang and flew above the entrance, hiding in a yellow cloud. When Su Fong became a Lord God, his second primordial spirit fused with his original body. As a result, his primordial spirit had transcended the shackles of this world. Even a high-grade energy from beyond the heavens couldn't shackle him. Hiding in the yellow cloud, the devil saint couldn't sense his existence. Then, Su Fong quietly flew down from the mountain ridge and landed 1,000 meters behind the devil saint, outside of his line of sight. Then, Su Fong released the Moon Emperor, who went straight for the devil saint. Su Fong, on the other hand, leaped into the air in a flash and hid within a floating yellow cloud. As for the ancestral Gragon, Su Fong had no intention of letting him fight. The ancestral Gragon's injuries were far from healed. Moreover, Su Fong was confident that he could deal with the devil saint, so he didn't let the ancestral Gragon fight. The Moon Emperor ran on the ground. He was only slightly faster than a mortal, so he was soon discovered by the devil saint. The devil saint threw the cultivators and big goblin into the cauldron. He was about to activate his demonic flames to refine them. When he saw the Moon Emperor, he was shocked. Why is there a human emperor here all of a sudden? It's the Moon Emperor who once guarded the sky, beacon god world. I heard that he was suppressed by Su Fong with the hell-suppressing cannon. Why is he here now? Then, he smiled savagely, revealing his sharp fangs. He looked extremely terrifying. It's been a long time since I've devoured a human emperor. If I devour this person and fuse with his life essence and divine origin, I might be able to quickly recover from my injuries. Devil Sky and Devil Saint didn't eat the cultivators and great demons. He jumped down from the rock and strode towards Moon Chill Sovereign. Boom, boom, boom. As the Devil Saint strode forward, his body grew rapidly. After a dozen steps, he turned into a terrifying demon god that was hundreds of feet tall. The Devil Saint was a supreme expert of the demon clan who was second only to the ancestral Gragon. He was very powerful, and his body was especially shocking. During the War of the Two Realms, his body was able to open a crack in the sky. It was obvious how strong his body was. Although he had not recovered from his injuries and was shackled in the Advent Divine Palace, the Devil Saint could not even use half of his strength. However, he was still extremely shocking, surpassing ordinary emperors. Human, become my food. The Devil Saint laughed wantonly. His arms shook as he threw out demonic palms with terrifying power that could shatter heaven and earth. He attacked the Moon Emperor like a tidal wave. The Moon Emperor had to use his inner world to turn it into an ice field to defend against the Devil Saint's attacks. Huge black palms bombarded the world barrier, causing the Moon Emperor's inner world to shake violently. The world barrier shattered layer by layer, and the ice field inside also showed signs of shattering. How dare a venerable sovereign like you appear in front of this saint? You must have some helpers. Su Fong, you might be nearby. Come out. The Devil Saint sneered at the Moon Emperor. While attacking the Moon Emperor, he also raised his guard. Since you want me to appear, I have no choice but to appear. Last time, you were lucky to escape. Let's see how you can escape this time.